So there I was, Lin Mo, freshly teleported into the apocalypse, standing in a dusty shack that the system had the audacity to call a store. Let me paint you a picture. Wasteland. Ruins. Mutant monsters everywhere. The air smells like someone left a wet sock in a microwave for 50 years. Because that's exactly what happened. The apocalypse hit 50 years ago. Humanity? Gone. Customers? Zero. Not even a cockroach with a wallet. And then this glowing blue ball, my system, hits me with a to-do list straight from hell. Open the store in 1 day or die. Get 10 sales in 3 days or die. Stock half the shelves in 5 days or die. Make 3,000 points in a week or die. Everything on this list ends with die. This isn't a business plan. It's a death sentence with extra steps. I kicked the counter. The counter won. My toes lost. Badly. Who am I selling to? I screamed at the floating ball. Zombies? Should I set up a buy one get one on brains? The system scanned the area. 5,000 kilometers. Result. 0 humans. 0. And this genius ball knew it was 0. It told me with a straight face. Well, straight glow. Like that was helpful information. Can I buy from myself and sell to myself? I asked. Left hand to right hand. Simple. Fraudulent transactions result in death, it said. I lost it. I absolutely lost it. I cursed that ball out for 5 solid minutes. I'm talking championship-level trash talk. Every swear word I knew, some I invented on the spot, ancestors included, full package delivery. And you know what happened? The system crashed. It started sparking and smoking like a cheap phone charger. My cursing literally broke the AI. It couldn't handle my emotional damage. When it rebooted, it was different, quieter, almost embarrassed. It offered me a compensation, 1 phone call to anyone, any time period. What am I supposed to do? Call my parents? Hey mom, hey dad, I'm about to get deleted by a psycho orb in the apocalypse. Maybe have another kid, just in case? Then I spotted something in the corner of the rules. Employee limit, 10. Current employees, 0 out of 10. My brain lit up like a Christmas tree. You said I can hire 10 employees. Those are your rules. So let me use that phone call to recruit someone. The system tried to argue. I didn't let it. I yelled louder. I pointed at its own rulebook. You can't break your own rules, buddy. That's your contract. It shook. It flickered. It tried to compute my logic, which was basically no logic at all, just pure stubbornness wrapped in screaming. And finally, it caved. Fine, it said. I won a shouting match against an all-powerful system. Now I just need to figure out who to call. My parents love me, sure, but what are they going to do here? Pack lunch and fight mutants with slippers? I need someone useful, and I've only got 1 shot. Okay, so I've got 1 phone call. 1. To anyone, any time in history. No pressure. My parents? Love them to death, but what are they going to do here? My mom would show up and try to feed the zombies soup. My dad would lecture them about posture. These are not apocalypse-ready people. I need someone with power. Real power. Armies, resources, the whole buffet. Someone who can snap their fingers and make things happen. And then it hit me, Qi Jingyang. Basically the most powerful man in the country. Military background, iron will, commands entire nation's worth of resources. He's my guy? But here's the tiny problem. Why would the most powerful man alive pick up a random call from some nobody screaming about time travel? He'd think I'm a scammer. He'd trace my number and send a SWAT team to my house. Except I don't have a house anymore, because it's been rubble for 50 years. I needed a hook. Something so shocking, so impossible to fake, that he'd have to believe me. Then I remembered. Everyone in the country knew about it. His wife died during childbirth. Complications, blood loss, contaminated blood bags. The whole tragedy. It was the one thing that haunted this man forever. So I did something absolutely insane. Connect me to Qi Jingyang, I told the system. Timing. 10 seconds before his wife's emergency. The system flashed a warning about changing history. Butterfly effect this, timeline that. Do I look like I care about butterflies right now? Connect me. It connected. Now picture this from his side. He's standing outside a surgery room, sweating bullets, waiting for news about his wife. His phone is dead, no battery. And suddenly it rings anyway. No caller ID. Just garbled code on the screen. Creepy as hell. He picks up because that's the kind of man he is. And he hears me. Some random kid, breathing hard, talking like a maniac. I don't have time to explain. 10 seconds. You have 10 seconds, He thinks it's a prank. Obviously. I would too. So I hit him with everything. I told him exactly what was about to happen. The door will open. A nurse will run out covered in blood. She'll say his wife is hemorrhaging. The backup blood is contaminated. And at the end, mother and baby, both gone. I got all these details from the system beforehand. Shamelessly begged that glowing ball for the full report. Because my version of the story was basically, something bad happened, wife died, very sad. Not exactly convincing. He's furious now. Thinks I'm cursing his family. His voice goes sub-zero, full military commander mode. I don't flinch. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, right on cue. Like the universe itself was reading my script, the surgery door swings open. A nurse stumbles out, drenched in blood, mask hanging off her face, practically crying. Emergency. Hemorrhage. The blood supply is compromised. Word. 4. Word. Exactly what I said. Qi Jingyang is standing there, frozen solid, phone still glued to his ear, brain doing a complete factory reset. And that's when I delivered the line. The one shot I had to flip this whole situation. So, do you believe me now? Dead silence on the other end. Just breathing. Heavy, shaky breathing. I kept going. Hello? Hello? You still there, big guy? He didn't hang up though, which meant my little prophecy was doing its job. The man's brain was currently running Windows Update. Please do not turn off your device. Meanwhile, on his side, absolute chaos was unfolding exactly how I said it would. The nurse confirmed everything. Blood bags contaminated, backup supply gone, all of it ruined. His wife was dying, and the clock was ticking. Qi Jingyang did what a military man does. He rolled up his sleeve, scars everywhere. The guy's arm looked like a road map of every war he'd ever fought, and said, "Take my blood. Leave me just enough to stay conscious," just casually offering to drain himself dry. No hesitation. This man is built different. But then the head surgeon walked out, blood all over his coat. Face like someone who just lost a poker game against God. "I'm sorry, sir. She's not going to make it. Bleeding won't stop. Organs shutting down. Even if they drew blood right now, processing it would take 20 minutes. His wife had maybe 1 minute left. The doctor held out a consent form. Basically, we can save the baby, but your wife is gone. Sign here. And this man, the most powerful leader in the country, the guy who commands millions of soldiers, looked at that piece of paper and said, "No, I want both. The mother and the baby. I want them both alive." The doctor looked at him like he'd asked for a rainbow-flavored unicorn. That's when I spoke up again through the phone he'd forgotten he was holding. "Still don't believe me?" He almost smashed the phone into his own face, grabbing it. This man who never flinches under gunfire was shaking. "You said you can save her. Is that true? What do you want? Money? Power? My life. Take it. Just save her." The most powerful man in the country, offering me his entire existence on a silver platter. And what did I do? I walked over to my dusty little shelf and grabbed the cheapest item in the store. A basic health potion, beginner life serum, bottom shelf garbage in my world. Made from mutant monster blood. Literally the store-brand knockoff of medicine. But 55 years in the past, this thing was liquid miracle. "System," I said to the glowing ball. "Send this to him." The system started whining. "This doesn't comply with regulations. Send it, or I swear on everything." Okay. So aggressive. Can't you just ask nicely? Rude carbon-based creature. The system was literally pouting. An all-powerful interdimensional AI was giving me attitude like a teenager who got yelled at for not doing dishes. But it did the job anyway. The syringe vanished from my hand. Delivered straight into Qi Jingyang's left chest pocket. Like Amazon Prime, but across time and space. I picked up the phone. "Check your left pocket." On the other end of the phone, I could hear everything going down. The doctor was begging Qi Jingyang to sign the form. Pick one, mother or baby. Classic hospital nightmare scenario. Then Qi Jingyang reached into his left pocket. I could practically hear his brain short-circuit when his fingers touched that syringe. The man put on a fresh shirt that morning. He knew that pocket was empty except for half a pack of cigarettes. And now there's a glowing red sci-fi needle in there like some interdimensional DoorDash delivery. Everyone around him froze. Doctor, nurses, all of them staring at this futuristic-looking syringe like cavemen seeing a lighter for the first time. "What is this?" "Don't ask questions. Stab it into her arm. Push the plunger. Do it now." No time for a TED talk about apocalypse medicine. And this is where Qi Jingyang proved why he runs an entire country. Zero hesitation. He grabbed that syringe and charged toward the surgery room like a man possessed. The doctor threw himself in the doorway. You can't. It's sterile in there. That's an unknown substance. This is against every medical protocol. Qi Jingyang's response? He kicked the doctor in the kneecap. Just. Bonk. Down goes the doctor. Didn't even look back. Walked right over him like a speed bump. Inside, his wife was basically flatlining. Heart monitor doing that horrible long beep thing you see in movies. The nurses were screaming at him to stop. The anesthesiologist was having a panic attack. Anyone who moves gets it next. He found a muscle on her arm and jabbed that needle in like he was defusing a bomb. Pushed every last drop of red liquid into her veins. 1 second. Nothing. 2 seconds. Nothing. 3 seconds. Still nothing. The doctor limped back in, holding his busted knee. See? You've killed them both now. What were you thinking? Beep. One tiny beep from the heart monitor. Beep. 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 Getting stronger. Getting faster. And then, like watching a dead phone plugged into a charger, every single number on that monitor started climbing. Blood oxygen shooting up like a rocket. Blood pressure normalizing. Heart rate steady. The bleeding just stopped. Completely. Like someone turned off a faucet. Her face went from ghost white to actual human color. She was breathing. Real, deep breaths. Let me remind you, this was the cheapest item in my store. The bargain bin, clearance rack, dollar store version of medicine. The stuff I wouldn't even bother putting on the front shelf. And over there, 55 years in the past, the country's top surgeon was losing his absolute mind. What was in that needle? What's IT called? Can we make more? This is a miracle. This changes everything for humanity. The doctor was grabbing Qi Jingyang's sleeve like a fanboy meeting his idol. The man went from, "You're killing my patient," to, "Please give me more of that," in about 4 seconds flat. Qi Jingyang ignored him completely. Just stood there, touching his wife's face as color came back to her cheeks. The man who commands armies, who never trembles, was standing there with wet eyes watching his wife come back from the dead. Then the doctor remembered. Oh yeah, the baby is still in there. Cue panic round 2. Everyone scrambled back into position, sterilized, masked up, and got back to work. Qi Jingyang stepped out into the hallway, picked up the phone he'd been gripping this whole time, and heard my voice. So, believe me now? 2 words came back. Quiet. Heavy. Like a man who just watched the impossible happen. I believe you. Music to my ears. The most powerful man in the country now owes me a favor, and his wife is alive because of my store's equivalent of a gas station energy drink. Not bad for my first sale. Qi Jingyang locked himself in a private office, lit a cigarette, and finally talked to me like a civilized human being. Which was nice, considering 5 minutes ago he was kicking doctors and screaming at nurses. Sorry for the wait, comrade. Now who are you? Deep breath. Here goes nothing. Hi. I'm Lin Mo. I'm from 55 years in the future. Silence. Just the sound of a cigarette slowly burning. I could practically hear the man's brain cells having an emergency board meeting. To his credit, he didn't hang up. If someone told me they were a time traveler, I'd have already called the cops. But this guy just watched his dead wife come back to life from a mystery syringe that teleported into his pocket. His weird stuff tolerance was at an all-time high. Proof, he said. Fair enough. The syringe wasn't enough? That proves good medicine. Not time travel. Could be some secret lab somewhere. Okay, this guy was sharp. I'll give him that. Even after witnessing a literal miracle, he's still thinking like a chess player. No wonder he runs the country. Then he asked the golden question. Why do you need him? Why help? If you're from the future, shouldn't everything be better? More advanced? You've got drugs that raise the dead. Why are you calling backwards in time like some kind of desperate refugee? I laughed. Not the funny kind. The kind where you're so exhausted that your body just makes the sound on its own. 55 years in the future, I said. There is no future. There is no country. There is no civilization. It's all gone. I heard his chair crash to the floor. The man literally jumped out of his seat. Impossible, he shouted. Full volume. The guy who keeps calm under artillery fire was yelling at me through the phone. I get it. Imagine someone calling you and saying, hey, your entire nation? Wiped out. Everyone you know? Dead. Everything you built? Rubble. You'd flip a chair too. It's not a war, I told him. It's not another country. It's not politics. It's monsters. Endless monsters. Like locusts covering the sky. 5 years from now, they show up. The apocalypse begins. Every weapon humanity has, missiles, tanks, bombs, barely scratches them. 1 month. That's all it took. 1 month to erase human civilization from the face of the earth. It wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. A complete, one-sided extermination. Dead silence on the line. Just breathing. Heavy, shaky breathing. You know what's funny? An hour ago, I was cursing out a glowing ball because it wanted me to run a convenience store in a wasteland. Now I'm on the phone with the most powerful man in the country, casually dropping the news that humanity has an expiration date. And the punchline? He actually relaxed a little when I told him I needed something from him. His exact logic was, good. He wants something. People who want nothing are the scary ones. This man trusts a deal more than a gift. Honestly, same. If someone saves your wife for free, that's terrifying. If someone saves your wife and says, okay, now here's what I need, that makes sense. That's business. Business he can work with. So there we were. Me, sitting behind a dusty counter in a dead world. Him, chain-smoking in a locked office 55 years in the past. 2 guys on the weirdest phone call in the history of phone calls. And I just told him the world was ending. Fun times. Qi Jingyang asked the million-dollar question, if everyone died, how are you alive? Funny story, I said. I'm not. I died too. A monster the size of a building slapped me like a mosquito, turned me into human paste. Then I woke up 55 years later in a crappy convenience store. You know, normal Tuesday stuff. Then he hit me with the real brainbuster. If the future is a wasteland, where do you get that miracle drug? Fair point. If civilization is toast, who's running the pharmacy? So I told him the truth. All of it. The system, the store, the magic inventory, everything. I figured lying to a man who survived wars and runs an entire nation was probably a bad career move. This guy has eaten more lies for breakfast than I've eaten actual breakfasts. It's like a system. Think of it as a cosmic vending machine that gave me a store. I sell stuff, I earn points, I unlock better items, including weapons that can actually fight the monsters. What is a system? He asked. Dead serious. The man genuinely did not know. I paused. How do you explain web novel logic to a 50-year-old military commander? Do you read novels? Like internet novels. The silence that followed was deafening. I just asked the leader of a nation to go read fantasy fiction in the middle of a conversation about the end of the world. Real smooth. Lin Mo, truly your finest moment. But here's the thing about Qi Jingyang. The man is adaptable. He didn't laugh. He didn't hang up. He just moved on. At my level, I've seen things normal people can't comprehend. Basically his way of saying, I'll accept your weird magic nonsense because I've seen weirder. Then he said the words I'd been dying to hear. I'm willing to believe you. Not because of my amazing explanation skills. Not because my story made any logical sense. But because I saved his wife. Simple as that. Facts beat arguments every time. I nearly collapsed. My whole body just gave out against the counter like a puppet with cut strings. For the first time since waking up in this nightmare, someone believed me. Someone with actual power. I felt like a drowning man who just grabbed a life raft. Thank you, I managed. My voice came out like sandpaper. Very cool. Very heroic. He shifted to business mode immediately. You said you're in danger. What's the situation? So I painted him the picture. Outside my store, monsters the size of small mountains, casually strolling through the ruins. Every step shakes the ground. But there's a magical barrier around the shop keeping them out, so I'm safe as long as I stay inside. So monsters aren't the problem? Nope. The system is the problem. I explained the insane deadline. 1 day to open the store. Generate revenue. Prove my worth to a floating ball of light. Or get erased from existence. Not killed, erased. Like a typo on a whiteboard. Just poof. Gone. Never existed. So let me recap my situation for anyone keeping score at home. I'm trapped in a magic shop in a monster-infested wasteland, 55 years after humanity got wiped out, being threatened. With deletion by a moody AI orb, and my only lifeline is a phone call to a chain-smoking military leader in the past who just learned what the word system means. Everything is going great. Then something wild happened on Qi Jingyang's end. While we were talking, his secret red phone lit up, the one that only goes off for top-level national security stuff. His intelligence agency had been trying to trace my call. They threw everything at it. Satellites, their whole surveillance network, every tracking system the country had. Result? Signal origin, not on Earth, not in the country, not on the continent, not on the planet. My phone call was literally registering as an alien transmission. Because technically, I guess a call from 55 years in the future is extraterrestrial. Just in the time dimension instead of space. That did it. That was the last domino. Whatever doubt Qi Jingyang had left just evaporated like spit on a hot pan. And then his voice changed. Not the worried husband voice. Not the cautious politician voice. This was the commander voice. The I move armies with a sentence voice. Comrade Lin Mo. What do you need? Weapons? Supplies? Just say the word. The nation will support you with everything it has. That hit me like a truck. Since waking up in this wasteland, I'd been completely alone. Just me, a psychotic system, and a world full of monsters. I was the last ember of human civilization, shivering in the wind, about to go out. I'd already died once. I was honestly thinking about just lying down and letting it happen again. And now, across 55 years of time, someone was telling me I wasn't alone anymore. That 14 billion, no, 1,400 million people had my back. I'm not gonna lie. I cried a little. Okay, I cried a lot. My throat locked up. My eyes burned. My tough guy act crumbled like a wet cookie. Qi Jingyang heard me sniffling through the phone and just waited. Didn't say anything awkward. Didn't rush me. Just let me have my moment like a patient grandfather. Then he dropped the hammer. From today, you're not alone anymore. Me and 1.4 billion people will always be behind you. I wiped my face, pulled myself together. No time for feelings. I can be touched after I'm not dead. I need soldiers, I said. The best of the best. Elite combat skills, iron nerves, survival experts. Guys who could wrestle a bear and win, then field strip a rifle while doing taxes. Qi Jingyang didn't even blink. How many? 100,000? A million? I'll put every military district on standby. Special forces, elite units, the whole menu. I'll flip this country upside down if I have to. This man just casually offered me 1 million soldiers like he was lending me a cup of sugar. 1 million troops dropping into the apocalypse. Can you even imagine that? It'd be like the world's most intense military parade, except the audience is 3-headed mutant lizards. My heart was racing. The possibilities were insane. An entire army, armed to the teeth, storming through the wasteland. Then I looked at my store level. Level 1. Employee limit, 10. 10. Not 10,000. Not 10,000. 10. I need 10. Silence. The longest, most painful silence of my entire life. I could hear his pen screch across the paper. How many? He asked. 10,000. No, buddy. Just 10. Single digits plus 1. The number after 9. The amount of fingers on my hands. I went from, give me an army, energy to, can I borrow a few guys, in about 2 seconds. The man offered me 1 million-man war machine, and I came back with a basketball team roster. This is my life now. Not 10,000. Not 10,000. 10. 1 0. The number you count on your fingers. The silence that followed could have killed a man. Qi Jingyang sounded like someone just told him to invade a country with a water gun. You're telling me. The fate of humanity rests on 10 guys? He tried to talk me out of it. Don't hold back. Don't worry about being a burden. This is bigger than you. Brother, I know. I would love 1 million soldiers. I would love 10 million. But my stupid store is level 1. Level 1. The tutorial zone. The baby difficulty. The system says 10 employees max, and arguing with it is like arguing with a brick wall that can delete you from existence. Then came the moment that almost broke me. Is it like a video game? Qi Jingyang asked. Level up, get more slots. I blinked. You understand that concept? I used to steal vegetables. I'm sorry, what? The supreme military commander of the nation. The man who controls armies. The iron-willed guardian of 1 billion people. Used to play Farmville. At night. Probably in his pajamas. Sneaking onto his phone to steal virtual carrots from his friends' digital gardens. I needed a moment. Yeah, I said, trying to keep a straight face. Same idea. Level up the store, unlock more people, better weapons, bigger capacity. Good. 10 it is, he said, snapping right back to commander mode. I'll pick from the top special forces units. Every single one will be the best of the best. Then his voice got heavy. Really heavy. But Lin Mo, can they come back? That question hit different. He wasn't just sending soldiers on a mission. These were real people with parents, wives, kids. He needed to know if he was sending them on a one-way trip to die in a monster-filled wasteland. I turned to the glowing ball. Hey, system, answer the man. And don't play dead. I know you're listening. The system flickered with the most offended energy I've ever seen from a ball of light. Excuse me? Am I some kind of shady black market system? Employees have full personal freedom. This isn't a prison. They can leave whenever they want and return to their own time. Oh, now you have standards. Now you care about employee rights, after threatening to delete me every 5 minutes. But wait, it got even better. Employees log in via memory copy. If they die, their memories return to their original body. They get 1 free resurrection per day, refreshing at 6 a.m. Additional revivals cost 100 source crystals minimum. So basically, the soldiers can't permanently die. They're playing on immortal mode. Die, wake up, do it again. Like a video game with unlimited continues. Qi Jingyang's brain went into overdrive. I could practically hear the gears smoking through the phone. So it's immortal combat training. In the actual apocalypse. Against real monsters. And they come back with all their experience. His voice was shaking. Not from fear, from excitement. The man realized he'd just stumbled onto the greatest military training program in human history. Then I had my own realization. Wait. So everyone else gets free respawns. And only I get permanently deleted? The employees get better benefits than the owner. The system spun lazily in the air, dripping with contempt. Is that not standard employee welfare? You people are such unsophisticated bumpkins. I want to fight this orb. Then Qi Jingyang dropped one more bomb. He wanted to keep the apocalypse a secret. Don't tell anyone. Don't warn the public. Not yet. His logic was actually solid. Tell 1 billion people the world ends in 5 years, and you don't get preparation. You get panic. Riots. Chaos. Society collapses before the monsters even show up. Human nature is the one thing you can never trust under pressure. Instead, his plan was genius. Use my store as a secret training ground. Send elite soldiers to the future, let them fight monsters, die, respawn, learn, get stronger. Build up an army of apocalypse-hardened super soldiers. Then, when they've got enough firepower and experience, slowly break the news. Let me borrow your hand, he said, to build our country's strength before anyone knows they need it. So now I'm not just running a convenience store in the apocalypse. I'm running a secret convenience store in the apocalypse that doubles as an interdimensional military academy for elite soldiers preparing for the end of the world. My job description is getting weirder by the minute. Qi Jingyang's plan was solid. Train soldiers secretly, build strength, then tell the world. Smart guy. Problem was, how do you keep a secret when you need lots of people going through the apocalypse meat grinder? People talk. Send 10 soldiers, fine. Send 1,000? Someone's gonna post about it on social media. Just got back from fighting 3-headed zombie dogs in the apocalypse, LOL blessed. And then it hit me. The greatest idea I've ever had. Maybe the greatest idea anyone has ever had. We tell them it's a video game. Dead silence. A game? Yes. A game. We build some fancy-looking pods or VR helmets, slap a government logo on them, and announce it as the world's first 100% realistic virtual reality game. They go in, fight monsters, die, respawn. That's literally just normal gaming. Nobody will question it. I even have the name picked out. Wasteland Era. Or maybe Apocalypse Survival. Something cool. Qi Jingyang went quiet. I could feel him trying to process the sheer audacity of what I just suggested. Take the actual end of the world and rebrand it as entertainment. Would anyone believe that? Doesn't matter if they believe it. Once they're inside and they feel the wind, smell the dirt, punch a zombie in the face. Who cares how it works? They'll be too busy having the time of their lives. And we make it exclusive. Limited beta access. Invite only. The harder it is to get in, the more people will BG to join. Hunger marketing. I wrote the book on this stuff. Then Qi Jingyang raised a fair point. But it's real pain in there. Real monsters ripping people apart. Real terror. Today's young people post on social media when they get a paper cut. You want them to fistfight zombies? I love this man, but he clearly doesn't know gamers. Sir, with all due respect, you are severely underestimating our nation's players. These people will stay up for 3 days straight for a ranking spot. They'll spend their life savings on a virtual outfit. You think a little pain is going to stop them? Just dangle some prizes. Kill count leaderboard. First place gets 5 million cash. Second place, 3 million. Third, 1 million. Top 100 get 100,000 each. I heard him inhale sharply through the phone. The money shocked him, which was funny because this man controls an entire national budget. Think about it, I said. If the apocalypse actually happens and the government can't protect anyone, money is just paper anyway. 5 million, 5 billion, doesn't matter. Spend it now while it still means something. Money isn't the problem, he agreed. But the psychological damage. What if people break down? What if they're traumatized? This sweet, protective old man. Worried about people's feelings while the world has an expiration date. I needed to shift his thinking. Let me explain something about language, I said. If you say you like someone else's wife, you're a creep, he coughed. But if you say the woman you loved happened to marry someone else, suddenly you're a tragic romantic hero. Same situation, different framing, completely different reaction. Or if a kid says he scored 78 on a test, that sounds bad. But if he says he improved by 8 points from last time, suddenly he's a champion. Language is a filter on reality. You're not changing what's real, you're choosing which side of it to light up. I could feel him thinking. Processing. The gears turning. So apply that here. If you tell people we're sending you to fight real monsters and you'll feel real pain and probably die horribly, yeah, they'll riot. Obviously. But if you say congratulations, you've been selected for the nation's most advanced gaming experience with millions in prize money, sir, I promise you, those gamers won't be running from the zombies. The zombies will be running from them. Xi Jinping lost it. In the good way. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He screamed so loud my ear nearly filed a restraining order against the phone. The man went from, I'm not sure about this, to, let's go, faster than a Ferrari. He was practically vibrating through the phone. The leader of a nation, geeking out over a fake video game idea like a teenager who just discovered cheat codes. Wasteland era. Great name. 3 days. I'll build you 10,000 gaming pods. Military grade. Explosion-proof. With automatic massage function, sir. Sir, we're trying to save humanity, not open a spa. But honestly, that efficiency is insane. I can't even get a plumber to show up in 3 days, and this man's promising 10,000 custom-built sci-fi pods. Government resources hit different. Now came the hard part, convincing my other business partner. The round, glowing, emotionally unstable one. I turned to the system. It was floating in the corner, minding its own business, flickering away like a night light with anxiety issues. The second it noticed me looking, it panicked. Literally backed up and hid in the corner like a cat that just heard the vacuum cleaner. What do you want? It squeaked. I put on my sweetest smile. Hey buddy, pal, brother, let's chat. Stop smiling. It's terrifying. Fair enough. I got straight to business. I needed the system to help set up the whole game infrastructure, using quantum whatever technology to pull people's consciousness from the past into this timeline. Absolutely not. Against regulations. Here we go again with the regulations. Listen, I said, leaning in like a used car salesman. You gotta be flexible. On the big stuff, sure, follow the rules. But on the small stuff, we look the other way. That's how the world works. You threatened to delete me like 14 times today, and I didn't complain, did I? The system's internal monologue was probably screaming. I'd cursed out its entire family tree, and I was calling that, not complaining. I'm a legitimate system, it protested. Anything bonded to me can't be that legitimate. I shot back. I mean, I obviously consider you a brother. A dear, close brother. Then I went for the kill. The emotional manipulation. My specialty. Think about it. If I die, what happens to you? Long pause. Theoretically, I would be unbound and destroyed. Exactly. We're tied together. Same rope, same grasshoppers. I go down, you go down. So isn't keeping me alive basically just self-care? The light flickered slower. It was thinking. I had it on the hook. Picture this. A whole army of immortal players pouring in, killing monsters for us, collecting resources for us, while we sit back and profit. I'm safer. You're safer. Everybody wins. I feel like you're scamming me, it said, but I have no evidence. Victory is near. And think about it. All those players killing monsters means tons of source crystals flowing in. You get a cut of everything. This isn't charity. This is an investment. The system went quiet. Its processor was cooking. I could almost smell the circuits burning. Then it said the magic words, "Fine. I can help. But," dramatic pause. "It's gonna cost extra." I'm sorry, what? This floating nightlight just tried to upsell me? It learned how to negotiate. When did this happen? I've created a monster. A capitalist, price gouging, money-hungry orb of light. Deal, I said instantly. Put it on my tab. No credit. Think bigger. Once players start flooding in and killing monsters, source crystals will pour in like rain. I'll pay you back double. You're basically getting free money. The system mumbled to itself. Something feels weird about this. But then again, he called me brother. Oh my God. That's what got through. Not the flawless business logic. Not the survival argument. The fact that I called it brother. This interdimensional AI is emotionally starved. Fine. Deal. We have an agreement. And just like that, I successfully peer-pressured an ancient cosmic system into becoming my business partner using a combination of death threats, emotional manipulation, fake brotherhood, and a payment plan I absolutely cannot afford. Entrepreneurship, baby. Qi Jingyang works fast. I'll give him that. Within hours, he had 10 elite soldiers standing in a room. The absolute cream of the crop, handpicked from millions. Every single one a combat machine capable of doing things in a fight that would make action movies look boring. He gave them the speech. This mission concerns the fate of our nation. Not a word leaves this room. Can you handle that? The captain, a guy named Chen Feng, punched himself in the chest so hard I'm surprised he didn't crack a rib. If I leak a single word, may I die 1,000 deaths. The other 9 followed with their own dramatic oaths. Military guys are intense. Then Qi Jingyang pulled out a fancy black velvet box. Inside, 10 bronze rings with weird engravings. Very Lord of the Rings energy. He told them to put the rings on, enter the virtual world, and follow the orders of some guy named Lin Mo. That's me. I'm some guy. They slipped on the rings and, boom, passed out instantly. All 10, dropping like dominoes on the floor. Qi Jingyang stood over their unconscious bodies, saluted them, and whispered, "The future of our nation rests with you." Pretty epic. Wish I could have seen it in person instead of hearing about it later. On my end, what I saw was 10 soldiers materializing inside my dusty little shop like they'd been spat out of a washing machine. They woke up gasping, disoriented, looking around like confused puppies in a new house. And the first thing they did? Snapped into a perfect defensive formation. Back to back, covering all angles. No weapons, no intel, completely lost. And their instinct was still flawless military precision. These guys were the real deal. Then this one soldier, Chen Feng, the quiet analytical type, started testing everything. He knocked on the glass shelves. Knock, knock, knock. He scraped dirt off the floor and rubbed it between his fingers. He was running diagnostics on reality like a scientist examining a specimen. The physics engine is incredible, he muttered. They must have modeled this down to the atomic level. He still thought it was a game. They all did. Then, to confirm his pain simulation theory, he reached over and pinched his teammate Zhou Jian's face. Hard. OWWW. What the? Zhou Jian jumped 3 feet in the air, holding his cheek like he'd been slapped by his mother. Chen Feng nodded calmly. Good. Pain system is also 100% accurate. The technology is remarkable. Then pinch yourself, you psycho. I'm scared of pain. I'm gonna. Zhou Jian lunged at him with murder in his eyes. Chen Feng had to physically separate them like a kindergarten teacher breaking up a playground fight. Focus. We have a mission. They finally noticed me. Sitting behind the counter. Sipping tea. Legs crossed. Watching this whole circus with the biggest grin on my face. I couldn't help it. After being alone in a dead world with nothing but a neurotic light bulb for company, watching 2 grown soldiers wrestle over a pinch was the funniest thing I'd seen in, well, ever. They stared at me. A 20-something kid in casual clothes, drinking tea like I owned the place. Which, technically I did. Chen Feng straightened up and saluted. Are you Lin Mo? I stood up, brushed off my pants. That's me. Zhou Jian whispered to the guy next to him. This game has NPCs? I thought it was supposed to be realistic. He thought I was a non-player character. A computer-generated background decoration. This mountain of muscle looked at me, the owner of this entire operation, the guy who saved their commander's wife, the man holding humanity's last thread of hope, and said, "Is that an NPC?" I chose not to take that personally. "Welcome to Wasteland Era," I said with my best customer service smile. Then I turned to the system. "All right, ball boy, do your thing." 10 holographic screens popped up in front of them. Employment contracts. Terms and conditions. The usual. Just sign this totally normal employment AGR. Cough. I mean, this game registration form. Almost said, selling your soul. Almost. Gotta watch my mouth. Chen Feng scanned the fine print. Something about, all consequences are your own responsibility, and all rights reserved by the Myriad World's General Store. And without hesitation, all 10 of them slapped their palms on the screens. Contract signed. Status: employees of the Myriad World's General Store. 10 employees. 10 elite, immortal, badass soldiers now working in my crappy little apocalypse shop. I finally have a staff. The store is open for business. Contracts signed. Employees acquired. Time to be a boss. I put on my most professional store manager face and gave them their first mission: go outside. Kill one zombie. Bring the body back. Preferably in one piece. Simple, right? Like a tutorial quest. Kill one rat. Return to NPC, except the rat is a walking corpse, and the NPC is me, a guy who's secretly terrified his entire staff is about to die on day one. I gave them the safety briefing. Pain is 100% real here. Death feels real. You respawn once a day for free. So maybe don't treat this like a speed run. Zhou Jian, the big guy who got his face pinched, shivered and rubbed his cheek. Still traumatized. Poor man. Then someone asked the obvious question. Where are the weapons? I pointed at my beautiful weapon rack. Swords, knives, guns, all gleaming and deadly. Take your pick. 1 source crystal per day rental fee. Break it, 20 crystals replacement cost. You'd think I told them Christmas was canceled. Rental? Zhou Jian looked at me like I'd just kicked his dog. We're going out there to fight your monsters, doing your dirty work, and you're charging us? What kind of game doesn't even give you a starter sword? Brother, I want to give you free stuff. I really do. But the system only accepts source crystals, and my employee discount is exactly 0%. I'm not greedy. I'm broke. There's a difference. I sipped my tea and did my best. Sorry, rules are rules. My hands are tied. Shrug. Pointed at the ceiling like some invisible corporate overlord was watching. Which, technically, was true. Chen Feng shut Zhou Jian up and grabbed a tactical knife. Black blade, 30 centimeters, non-reflective finish, paracord handle. The system displayed its stats in blue floating text like an actual video game item screen. 5 combat power. Enough to cut through basic zombie flesh. He flipped it once. The thing whistled through the air. Good knife, he said, and tucked it away like he'd been born with it. Everyone else picked their weapons, mostly blades and melee stuff. Except this one maniac named Lei Yu, the team's firepower specialist, who absolutely insisted on a modified shotgun. 5 shells only. 5. But the look on his face said he'd rather die than go into battle without something that goes boom. Move out, Chen Feng barked, and just like that, 10 elite soldiers vanished through my front door into the wasteland. The second that door closed, I collapsed into my chair like a deflated balloon. Acting is harder than killing zombies, I groaned, chugging my tea. The system chimed in helpfully. Your performance was somewhat exaggerated. I recommend controlling your micro-expressions for better believability. Shut up. If you hadn't dumped me in this hellhole, I wouldn't need to act. I pulled up my task screen. Big red countdown timer. 20 hours left to complete one transaction or get permanently deleted. If these guys all die out there and come back empty-handed, I'm done. Please come back alive, I whispered at the door. Not for your sake. For mine. Meanwhile, 300 meters out, my employees were having the time of their lives being horrified. They'd scavenged some rusty pipes and old rebar from the ruins. Garbage weapons with 0 stat bonuses, but better than fists. Then Chen Feng spotted their target. One zombie, wearing a ruined business suit, wandering around behind a trash can like a drunk accountant who forgot where his office was. Half its face was chewed off, white bones showing through, and one eyeball was dangling outside the socket, swinging back and forth like a fleshy pendulum. Zhou Jian almost threw up. The modeling on this thing is insane. I can see individual blood vessels on that eyeball. Chen Feng nodded seriously, still fully convinced this was cutting-edge VR technology. I have to admit, I underestimated our country's tech capabilities. This is beyond anything I thought possible. These guys were standing 300 meters from my shop, staring at a real zombie with a real dangling eyeball, about to fight for their real lives. And their main takeaway was, wow, great graphics. Gamers, man. Unshakable. I watched the whole thing from inside the shop, sipping tea, sweating bullets. My elite squad of 10 super soldiers, the best fighters in the entire country, went out to kill one zombie. One single, solitary, shuffling dead guy in a ripped business suit. It nearly killed them. Xiaoyan snuck up behind it and stabbed it in the neck. The knife went in 2 inches and stopped, like he'd stabbed a rock. This walking corpse had bones made of reinforced concrete apparently. The zombie spun around and almost ripped Xiaoyan's throat out, tore his collar open. The man barely dodged by kicking the zombie in the gut and backflipping away like an action hero. Except the action hero was terrified. "It's that tough," he screamed. Chen Feng charged in with his rented tactical knife and hacked at the zombie's neck. Missed. Hit the shoulder instead. Crunch. Broke the collarbone clean. Black blood everywhere. Did the zombie care? Nope. No pain. No flinching. No. Ow. It just got injure. Tried to bite Chen Feng's face off with a mouth full of fangs. "Where's the stagger animation?" Chen Feng yelled. "Welcome to real life, buddy. There's no hit-stun mechanic here." Zhou Jin smashed its knee with a steel pipe so hard it dropped to one leg. Then Lei Yu, the gun maniac who grabbed a shotgun but apparently forgot about it, just full-body tackled the zombie like a linebacker. Pinned it down. Everyone else piled on. 10 elite soldiers playing zombie wrestling, using every grappling technique they'd ever learned. "This thing is stronger than me," Lei Yu screamed, face turning purple, veins popping everywhere. This skinny dried-up corpse was bench-pressing a 200-pound Special Forces operator. "Cut the head off," Chen Feng shouted. Chen Feng grabbed his knife with both hands and brought it down on the neck like a lumberjack splitting wood. Splorch. Head rolled off. Body twitched. Finally stopped moving. They sat on the ground gasping like they'd just run a marathon. Covered in black blood. Emotionally destroyed. All from one zombie. That was the starter enemy. Zhou Jin stared at his steel pipe, which was now bent at a 90-degree angle. Did the developers set the difficulty wrong? Chen Feng wiped his blade clean, looking deeply troubled. "This isn't a difficulty problem. It's a realism problem. No health bars. No weak point indicators. No stagger when you hit them. Their bones and muscles follow actual biology, except stronger. This isn't a game," someone muttered. "This is survival in another dimension." Then came the fun part, transporting the body back. Where's the inventory system? The loot button? No backpack. No auto pickup. No. Press F to collect. "Carry it," Chen Feng said. Zhou Jin's face went through 17 emotions. "It smells like it's been marinating in a sewer for 3 years. And you want us to carry it?" Lei Yu threw the headless corpse over his shoulder like a sack of rice. Because of course he did. The man who tackles zombies doesn't complain about carrying them. And that's when everything went sideways. One howl in the distance. Then another. Then hundreds. Chen Feng climbed a broken wall, looked out, and jumped back down looking like he'd seen his own funeral. Run. Run now. Zombie horde. Hundreds of them. Coming this way. One zombie nearly wiped them out. Now hundreds were charging at them like a tsunami of rotting flesh. "This game's developers are insane," Zhou Jin shrieked. "Who puts a horde event in the tutorial zone?" They ran. Full sprint. Lei Yu was carrying 100+ pounds of dead zombie on his back and somehow running like an Olympic sprinter. His lungs were on fire. His legs were screaming. But when someone asked if he could keep up, he yelled. A man never says he can't. Behind them, hundreds of monsters pouring through the ruins like a black flood. Crawling on the ground, jumping off walls, screeching from every direction. Worse than any zombie movie ever made. 200 meters to my shop. 150. 100. I could see them through the window. 10 grown men running for their lives. One of them carrying a headless corpse. All of them screaming. They dove through the barrier. Sliding, rolling, crashing, tumbling across the invisible safe zone line like they were sliding in a home base. Lei Yu plowed through like a runaway tank. Chen Feng and Zhou Jin literally crawled the last few meters. And then, silence. The zombies slammed into my shop's invisible force field like birds hitting a window. The one in front got its face smushed flat against the barrier, clawing at nothing. Hundreds more piled up behind it, layer after layer of snarling, screeching, rage-filled dead things. But they couldn't get in. Not one step. My 10 employees lay on the ground inside the safe zone, panting, bleeding, covered in black goo, staring at the ceiling. I took another sip of tea. First day on the job, everybody. My employees crawled back inside looking like they'd been through a blender. Covered in black blood, gasping for air, sprawled on the floor like starfish. Lei Yu threw the headless corpse off his shoulder and collapsed in a full spread eagle position. This game is too hardcore, he wheezed. I was standing there with my tea, heart secretly pounding out of my chest. They did it. They actually brought back a body. I'm not gonna die today. Probably. But before I could give an inspiring boss speech, Zhou Jian did something absolutely unhinged. This maniac got up, walked to the edge of the barrier, where a zombie's drooling mouth was literally 10 centimeters from his face, and started taunting them. He made a stupid face, stuck out his tongue, wiggled his fingers. Nye nye nye, can't get me. Then he started doing the hokey-pokey with the barrier. 1 foot out, zombie swipes, foot back in. I'm out. I'm in. I'm out again. Come bite me, idiot. He turned around and twerked at several hundred zombies. Chen Feng covered his face in shame. I froze mid-sip. My brain needed a moment. These are the elite soldiers of our nation, ladies and gentlemen. Then Qin Feng, the smart one, had a galaxy brain moment while watching Zhou Jian's clown show. Captain, barrier exploit, 2 words. Chen Feng understood instantly. The zombies can't come in, but weapons can go out. 10 soldiers lined up along the invisible wall like a firing squad. On the other side, hundreds of zombies were pressing their rotting faces against the barrier, arms reaching through but falling short by centimeters. Kill. It was a buffet. No dodging needed. No fancy footwork. Just stab, pull back, stab again. Like spearing fish in a barrel. Black blood splashed against the invisible wall and slid down like a horror movie painting. The system started panicking internally. Warning. Detecting potential exploit. It's not an exploit, I said calmly, sipping my tea. Brains are part of strength. If they can't figure out basic terrain advantage, they won't survive 3 days out there. The system ran its analysis and reluctantly agreed. No rules broken. Fair game. Smart move, honestly. If my employees all died on day 1, who's buying stuff from my store? Dead people have terrible spending habits. 2.5 hours of nonstop slaughter. 239 zombies. My 10 guys chopped through them like a production line. By the end, they were so exhausted they couldn't lift a finger. Literally. 10 grown men melted into puddles on the ground. But Zhou Jian, bless his psychotic heart, was grinning. That was amazing, he held at the sky. Every hit felt real. This game is incredible. He held up his shaking hand, blood seeping from his torn-up palm, and looked at it like it was a trophy. These guys went from, this is terrifying, to, this is the greatest thing ever, in about 2 hours. Turns out, give elite soldiers permission to go absolutely wild with no consequences, and they become addicted. Qin Feng even admitted it. 1 month of training here equals a year in the real world. And since they can't permanently die, they can try the craziest tactics imaginable. I walked out to the pile of corpses. Mountain of rotting zombie parts. Smell that could knock out a horse. I didn't even flinch. After living in this wasteland, my nose is basically dead anyway. Collecting all of these? I asked. They all looked at Qin Feng. He stood up on shaking legs, trying to look dignified while his knees were doing the wobble dance. All of them. I snapped my fingers. The system did its thing. Blue light swept across the ground, and every single corpse dissolved like snow in sunshine. Ground was spotless. Not a drop of blood left. Then the payday screen appeared. 239 zombies recycled. 2,521 source crystals earned. A literal waterfall of shiny crystals poured out of thin air and piled up at Qin Feng's feet like pirate treasure. Glowing, beautiful, thumb-sized gems. Zhou Jian grabbed a handful, eyes the size of dinner plates. This is money. Qin Feng was more practical. He looked at the mountain of crystals, did some mental math on the weight, and turned to me with actual respect in his voice for the first time. Store manager, can we deposit these with you? Carrying all this into battle seems unwise. He called me store manager, not NPC. Not that kid behind the counter, store manager. I'm moving up in the world. Time to do what I do best. Sell stuff to people who have no choice but to buy it. I pulled up the store catalog. Weapons, potions, the whole menu. Watched their eyes light up like kids in a candy store. Then watched those eyes die when they saw the prices. Zhou Jian spotted the rock-cleaving blade first. Top-tier weapon. 30 combat power. Beautiful, deadly, the kind of thing that makes a grown man drool. Price tag, 500 source crystals. 500? His voice hit a note that dogs could hear. We almost died for 2.5 hours and only earned 2,000. That means I can only buy 4 knives? Is this thing made of gold? Does it do 999 damage per swing? I shrugged. Don't like it? Try punching the next zombie with your bare fists. He shut up, but I could see his soul leaving his body through his wallet. Before they could start shopping for shiny weapons, though, I dropped a little bomb. By the way, I said casually, pointing at Zhou Jian's hand, you might want to buy antidote first. Antidote? For what? I pointed at the cut on his hand. Around the wound, thin black lines were crawling up his veins like tiny evil snakes. Zombie virus. Slowly turning him into one of them. His steel pipe hit the floor. His face went white. This fearless special forces warrior who'd been twerking at zombies 10 minutes ago was now staring at his hand like it had personally betrayed him. The monster blood is infectious, I explained. Touches an open wound. You turn. Panic. Chen Feng practically tackled the shopping screen. Antidote. 10. Now, 500 crystals for a fancy sword? That's robbery. 8 crystals per antidote to not become a zombie? Take my money immediately. Funny how priorities shift when you're about to turn into an undead cannibal. I processed the order. 10 green syringes materialized. Chen Feng grabbed one and jammed it into Zhou Jian's arm without even asking permission. The black lines retreated, normal red blood came back, and Zhou Jian melted onto the floor like a puddle of relief. Everyone else injected themselves too, even the guys with no visible wounds. Nobody wanted to gamble on those odds. And right there, on my private screen, golden text appeared. Quest. Complete 1 transaction. Completed. I leaned back in my chair and let the tension drain out of me like air from a balloon. Done. First sale. The system can't delete me today. Or tomorrow. I just bought myself 3 more days of existence with antidote potions. Chen Feng looked at me differently after that. Real respect. If I hadn't warned them about the infection, his whole squad would have turned into zombies by morning. The irony. Elite soldiers survive hundreds of monsters, only to be killed by a paper cut they didn't notice. Store manager, he said, almost bowing. What should we buy? Oh, now I'm the expert. Now you want my opinion. When I was sitting behind the counter earlier, I was just an NPC. Now I'm a consultant. I gave them the smart build. 4 rock-cleaving blades for the frontline fighters, 2,000 crystals. Keep the rental weapons for the support crew, 143 crystals to settle the tab. Antidotes for everyone as backup, 80 crystals. Then dump everything left over into healing potions. Chen Feng did the math. Started with 2,521. After shopping, 298 crystals left. Enough for more antidotes and 43 health potions. He stared at the remaining pile of crystals. What had looked like pirate treasure 5 minutes ago now looked like pocket change. I thought we were rich, he muttered. Welcome to retail, Captain. Money comes in, money goes out. That's the circle of life. And I'm the guy standing in the middle collecting the fee. My first day as a shopkeeper in the apocalypse. Survived. Employees, alive mostly. System, not deleting me for now. Revenue, flowing. The grind begins. Chen Feng went with my shopping plan. No arguments. The man was learning. When the store manager talks, you listen. Especially when the store manager is the only thing standing between you and zombie infection. 4 rock-cleaving blades sold. Zhou Jian, Lei Yu, Xiao Yun, and Chen Feng each got one. Qin Feng turned his down, said it didn't match his fighting style. Respect. A man who knows himself. Zhou Jian grabbed his blade, and his eyes went full heart emoji. He swung it around like a kid on Christmas morning. This is a weapon. If I had this earlier, those zombies would have been salad. Then something nice happened. Something I didn't expect from myself. I made tea. 10 cups. Hot. Free of charge. These guys had been fighting for hours, hadn't eaten or drunk anything, and were covered in zombie juice from head to toe. The least I could do was give them something warm before sending them back into the meat grinder. On the house, I said. They froze. stared at those steaming cups like I'd just offered them liquid gold. In a world that smells like death and rotting garbage, hot tea might as well be liquid gold. Chen Feng drank his in one gulp. Even Chen Feng, Mr. Stoneface, softened up a little. 10 minutes of rest, and they looked like different people. Still wearing the same shredded uniforms, but now they had good weapons, full medicine belts, and actual morale. They headed back out. Revenue so far, 2,520. Only needed 480 more to hit the 3,000 target. A few dozen zombies. Easy money. I was practically home free. While they were out hunting, the system suggested I spend 1,000 from my earnings on something called the beginner life potion recipe. Learn to make the potions instead of just selling pre-made ones. Get good enough at it, and I unlock a potion factory. Now that's business thinking. Why sell someone else's product when you can manufacture your own? Cut out the middleman. Become the middleman. I bought it immediately. A tsunami of knowledge flooded my brain. Herb identification, extraction methods, mixing ratios, temperature control, all of it downloaded straight into my head like the world's most aggressive online course. Instant pharmacy degree. No student loans. I also had another task lurking. Stock the shelves to 50% capacity. Most of my store was embarrassingly empty, like a convenience store after a hurricane. I needed to craft stuff myself to fill it up, but I was feeling good. Tea in hand, recipe in brain, money coming in. Things were looking up. Then my employees went back outside. Zhou Jian was leading the charge, twirling his new blade like a show-off, grinning ear to ear. Captain, with this baby, I could split a mutant tiger in half. Bring it on. Nothing can, SBLCH. The softest, wettest sound I've ever heard. Zhou Jian stopped talking. Looked down. There was a hole in his chest. A hole. Big as a bowl. Front to back. You could see through him. His heart was just gone. In its place was a long, pink, wriggling tongue. Something's tongue. Punched straight through his body from God knows where. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The guy who'd been trash-talking zombies 1 second ago now had a window where his chest used to be. The tongue retracted. Zhou Jian didn't even scream. His body flew backwards like a rag doll yanked on a string and vanished into the darkness. Just like that. Gone. The guy with the big mouth, the stupid jokes, the zombie taunting, the face-pinching grudge, snatched away in half a heartbeat by something none of us even saw. That new sword he was so proud of, still in his hand when he disappeared. 500 crystals. Gone. I really should have sold him insurance. And just like that, Zhou Jian was gone. 1 second he was swinging his new sword around like a show-off, bragging about how he could split a mutant tiger in half. Next second, a tongue punched through his chest from behind. A tongue. Not a claw, not a fong. A tongue. His heart just wasn't there anymore. Replaced by a giant pink worm of muscle that retracted faster than a tape measure, yanking his whole body into the darkness like a rag doll on a fishing line. Everyone scrambled back behind the safe zone, tripping over each other, pure panic. Then we saw what did it. A chameleon. A chameleon. Except this one was the size of a freight truck, covered in color-shifting scales, clinging to the side of a ruined building like the world's worst gecko. It had been invisible the entire time, just sitting there, waiting. And Zhou Jian walked right past it like a buffet delivery. It chewed him up, we could hear the bones crunching, and swallowed him whole. Then it licked its lips, glanced at us with one of those creepy rotating eyeballs like, dessert, and vanished back into thin air. Gao Yuan, the medic, threw up everything. Tea, stomach acid, dignity, all of it on the ground. Is this really a game? Someone whispered. Nobody answered. Because what do you say? Don't worry, the giant invisible chameleon that just ate our friend is just pixels. Even Chen Feng, the smartest guy in the group, was clenching his fists, trying to convince himself. It's fine. Just a game. He'll respawn tomorrow. His voice said, fine. His face said, I will never sleep again. Chen Feng didn't flinch. Cold as ice. We don't have crystals for instant revival. He waits until tomorrow's free reset. We keep moving. Brutal? Yes. Correct? Also yes. Welcome to Apocalypse Economics. Your best friend just died, but you can't afford the respawn fee, so you file it under tomorrow's problem and keep grinding. They switched directions, away from the invisible murder lizard, and explored the opposite streets. Ruined buildings, skeleton cars, dust and decay everywhere. Standard post-apocalypse interior decorating. Then something cool happened. A notification popped up for everyone. Remote recycling function. Unlocked. Basically a built-in pawn shop. Touch something valuable. The system scans it. And if it's worth anything, poof, it teleports to my store and deposits crystals into their account. Han Bing, the glasses-wearing nerd, tested it first. Picked up a reddish rock from the ground. Low-grade iron ore. Value. 5 crystals. He touched it. It vanished. His balance went up by 5. Everyone's fear evaporated like morning dew. Suddenly these soldiers weren't in a death wasteland anymore. They were in a treasure hunt. Picking up rocks, old plants, random debris, anything the system flagged as recyclable. Like kids at an Easter egg hunt. Except the eggs are minerals and the bunny is a truck-sized chameleon that eats people. 10 minutes of scavenging. 30-ish crystals each. Not huge money, but completely risk-free. No zombies punched. No tongues through anyone's chest. Then Xin Feng spotted movement ahead. 3 mutant dogs at a crossroads. The size of calves, rotting skin, teeth sticking out everywhere. Combat power, 41 each. Compared to that invisible chameleon of death, these were puppies. Do we fight? Lei Yu asked, already gripping his sword like a man who needed to kill something after watching his buddy get eaten. We fight, Xin Feng said. He started assigning positions. Lei Yu, left flank. Xiao Yan right. Me and Zhou, he stopped mid-sentence. Zhou Jian, the guy who'd usually be first in line, screaming something stupid and charging in with his bent steel pipe. Currently being digested inside a chameleon. Me and Xin Feng, frontal engagement. Nobody mentioned it, but everybody felt it. Go. 3 shadows launched from cover. The dogs spun around, bared their disgusting yellow fangs, and charged. Round 2. This time with better weapons, worse morale, and 1 less friend. And somewhere back in my shop, I was watching my revenue counter tick upward, trying not to think about the fact that my 500 crystal sword was currently dissolving in a lizard's stomach. Should have sold him the extended warranty. My guys were on a roll after that. The mutant dog fight lasted 10 seconds. 10. Those 3 monster dogs that would have made a normal person soil themselves? Sliced up like deli meat. Lei Yu went first, charged straight at a dog the size of a calf, didn't dodge, didn't flinch, just brought that rock-cleaving blade down like a guillotine. Dog head went flying. Black blood everywhere. Good sword, he screamed, grinning like a maniac. This man just discovered his love language, and it's decapitation. Xiao Yun handled the second one with surgical precision. Dodged the bite, slashed the belly, and suddenly the dog's insides were its outsides. Elegant. Disgusting. Effective. Xin Feng and Qin Feng tag-teamed the third. Qin Feng sliced its jaw clean off, then Qin Feng skewered its brain through the eye socket with a sharpened piece of rebar. Kicked the corpse into a wall for good measure. 10 seconds. 3 dead dogs. 0 injuries. This is the power of spending money, Lei Yu shouted. He's not wrong. Those swords cost me, well, cost them, a fortune. But the return on investment was undeniable. Without those blades, that fight would have been a bloodbath. With them, it was a cooking show. Han Bing checked the loot. Dog meat. Toxic. Can't eat, can't sell. But the fangs and claws? Material grade. Recyclable. 18 crystals total. Not much. But the principle was everything. Kill monsters, get paid. Reliable income. Better than picking up rocks. Chen Feng looked at the number, looked at the dark streets ahead, and said the most terrifying words a squad leader can say. We're not sleeping tonight. My man chose grind mode. I respect it. Meanwhile, on the other side of time and space, something interesting was happening. Zhou Jian woke up. He shot out of bed like a man who'd just been electrocuted. Gasping, clutching his chest, pawing at the spot where a giant tongue had punched through him like a fist through wet paper. Nothing there. No hole. No blood. Not even a scratch. Smooth, warm, perfectly intact chest. But his brain still remembered everything. The cold, slimy feeling of that tongue going through him. The sensation of his blood draining out. The darkness closing in as his consciousness faded. All of it burned into his memory like a brand. He was sitting there, staring at his own hands, shaking, when he heard a voice. Awake, Qi Jingyang. Sitting in a chair beside the bed. Calm as a lake. Reading a tablet like he was checking his morning email. Zhou Jin nearly fell off the bed trying to salute. Qi Jingyang didn't even look up. How do you feel? Physically fine, sir. His face was still twitching involuntarily. Totally fine. Nothing to see here. Just a man who experienced death and came back from it, and is completely normal about it. Tell me about Wasteland Era. Zhou Jian swallowed hard. Tried to organize his thoughts. Opened his mouth. Real. That's all he got out. One word. Then silence. That's it? It's so freaking real, sir. He caught himself cursing in front of the Supreme Commander and clamped his mouth shut. Qi Jingyang waved it off. Don't filter yourself. I want raw reactions. Permission to curse granted. Zhou Jian unleashed. Every VR game I've ever played is garbage compared to this. This isn't data. This isn't code. This is a whole other world. The air smells like sulfur and rotting meat. It burns your lungs. When you get hurt, you feel your skin tearing, your blood vessels popping, your life force draining away. He paused. Touched his chest again. Long-term training in there could produce something incredible. What he didn't say out loud. Anyone with a normal mental state would lose their mind in there. He nearly did, and he's literally one of the top soldiers in the nation. Qi Jingyang listened quietly, tapping his tablet. Not reacting, just absorbing, because he knew something Zhou Jian didn't. It wasn't a game. It was never a game. That was a real world. Real monsters. Real death. This kid sitting in front of him had genuinely, actually, no takebacks died. Got eaten by a chameleon the size of a truck. And now he's back, whole and healthy, thinking it was just really impressive graphics. What about results? Qi Jingyang asked, cutting to what mattered. 521 source crystals earned before I disconnected. That's one way to say, got my heart ripped out by a tongue and was swallowed whole. Disconnected. Like his Wi-Fi went out. Gamers really do have a word for everything. Back on Qi Jingyang's side, Zhou Jian was giving his after-action report. Sitting on a bed, very much alive, very much traumatized. How did you die? Qi Jingyang asked, casual as someone asking about the weather. Zhou Jian looked embarrassed. Not about dying stupidly. I didn't even see what killed me. I felt a breeze. Then my chest was cold. I looked down and there was a pink ribbon with little barbs on it, going through me. Then lights out, pink ribbon, through the chest, from something invisible. Qi Jingyang filed that away in his brain like a man who catalogs nightmares for a living. He stared out the window at his beautiful, peaceful, brightly lit city. Cars, lights, people living normal lives. And somewhere, 55 years ahead, this exact spot was a graveyard full of monsters that could one-shot elite soldiers. You didn't fail, he told Zhou Jian. You brought back intel. The monsters can be killed. That means there's hope. Then he gave him his orders. Rest. Be online at 6 a.m. sharp. And help that store grow. Meanwhile, I was having a wonderful evening. While my employees were out there fighting for their lives, I was in the back room playing chemistry teacher. The system sold me that potion recipe, and now I had to actually make the stuff. Sounds cool, right? Like a video game crafting system? It's not. First attempt, exploded. Second attempt, exploded. Third through 10th, various flavors of explosion. Each failure burned through 3 source crystals worth of materials. Monster blood protein, 30 crystals a bottle. Clotting herbs, 13 crystals per stem. Every failed potion was basically lighting money on fire. I stood there at my little table with a test tube over an alcohol lamp, hands shaking, watching my life savings bubble and burn. Attempt 11, explosion. Attempt 12, explosion. Attempt 13, success. 1 potion. Cost to make, roughly 4 crystals. Sells for 5. Profit margin of 1 crystal. I'm basically running a lemonade stand at the end of the world. But I kept going. Hour after hour. My hands got steadier. My success rate climbed from pathetic to decent to actually pretty good. By dawn, I'd burned through 1,521 source crystals and produced exactly 103 potions. Worth 515 crystals at retail price. I lost over 1,000 crystals in one night. Investment in the future, I told myself, trying not to cry. Then I looked at the clock. 5:50 a.m. 10 minutes until the free daily resurrections. And nobody was back. I looked out the window. Empty wasteland. No movement. Nothing. Don't tell me they all died. Then I spotted them. 4 black dots in the distance. Moving fast. Well, fast is generous. More like stumbling aggressively. For people. Out of 9. Chen Feng was in front. Arm wrapped in bloody bandages. carrying a chipped sword in one hand and dragging Lei Yu with the other. Lei Yu, the big tough tank guy, looked like he'd been through a car wash full of blood and gunpowder. Half his body was red, face black with soot. Behind them, Zhao Yunfeng and Han Bing, looking like refugees from the world's worst camping trip. 10 went out. 4 came back. And those 4 looked like they'd crawled out of a garbage disposal. They didn't walk through my door. They fell through it, collapsed on the floor like bags of wet laundry. So let me tally up the night shift. 6 employees dead, temporarily, for barely alive. 1 owner who just lost 1,000 crystals learning how to make cough syrup, and somewhere out in the wasteland, a truck-sized invisible chameleon was picking its teeth. Employee retention in the apocalypse is rough. My employees crawled through the door looking like they'd lost a fight with a lawnmower. I gave them water because I'm a generous boss. Also because dead employees can't buy things. Lei Yu collapsed on the floor. Chen Feng dragged himself to the counter, wiped blood off his face, and said the most beautiful words a shopkeeper can hear. I want to buy stuff. Music to my ears. But then he said something that nearly gave me a heart attack. 8 rock-cleaving blades. 8. At 500 crystals each. That's 4,000 crystals. Yesterday, they could barely afford 4. You sure? I asked. No credit. Cash only. Chen Feng pulled up his account balance. 15,312 source crystals. I almost dropped my tea. 15,000. One night. These guys made more money in a few hours than I'd make in a week. Did you ROB a boss monster? Lei Yu grinned from the floor, wincing because smiling hurt. Nah. Luck. Turns out they stumbled onto 2 massive monsters. One was a giant meatball covered in tentacles, the other a bus-sized spider with spiked legs, beating the absolute crap out of each other. Territory dispute. Kaiju boxing match. Both bosses brought armies of minions that got shredded in the crossfire. My guys, they hid in a ditch. Like cowards. Brilliant cowards. When both bosses limped away, the battlefield was covered in dead minions. Source crystals everywhere. They just walked around picking up free money like it was Easter morning. We picked up crystals until our hands were sore, Lei Yu said, beaming. These idiots accidentally invented the greatest military strategy of all time. Hide in a hole and let the monsters kill each other, then loot the bodies. Chen Feng placed his order. 8 swords, plus all my health potions. Every single one. How many potions is that? I checked. 1,862. My entire night of brewing. Every failed attempt, every burned crystal, every aching muscle in my wrist, bought in one transaction. I spent all night crafting like a medieval pharmacist, and this man just swept the shelf clean like he was at Costco. Can you carry all that? I asked. Chen Feng didn't answer. Instead, he and 2 others looked at each other, smiled, and stabbed themselves in the heart. Right there. In my shop. 3 grown men just casually committed suicide in front of my counter. What the? I understood immediately. These psychos figured out the system. It was almost 6 a.m., free resurrection time. Why waste health potions healing injuries when you can just die and come back at full health for free? They killed themselves to save a few potions. Han Bing, the only one who didn't stab himself, stayed behind to guard the merchandise. Someone has to watch the stuff until they respawn, he said matter-of-factly. 3 corpses on my floor. Blood everywhere. 1 comm nerd sitting among them, checking inventory. This is my shop now. This is normal. 6 a.m. On the dot. The corpses dissolved into sparkles. The blood vanished. The floor cleaned itself. And then, poof, 9 people materialized at my front door. All of them, including Zhou Jian, who'd been chameleon food 12 hours ago. Full health. Clean uniforms. Fresh faces. 0 injuries. Looking like they'd just stepped out of a spa instead of a war zone. Feels good, Lei Yu shouted, jumping up and down, shaking my entire shop. Zhou Jian was chatting and laughing with Xiao Yun like nothing happened. The man who got his heart ripped out by a tongue was making jokes. These soldiers had fully embraced the respawn mechanic. Death was just a free health refill now. Han Bing jabbed himself with one of the potions he'd been guarding. Ah, nice. Then he caught me staring. Don't look at us like that, boss. We had 10,000 crystals worth of gear. You think we'd risk dropping it by dying with it on us? Chen Feng nodded. Just being cautious. These maniacs killed themselves as an asset protection strategy. They committed suicide for financial reasons. This is the most unhinged accounting I've ever witnessed. All right, Feng announced. Log off for now. Eat. Rest. 2 hours. Back at 8. Today we push deeper. Lei waved at me on his way out. Save us the good stuff next time, boss. One by one, they faded away. 10 figures dissolving into thin air. Shop empty. Silence. I walked to the door, closed it, and hung up the closed sign. Then I looked at my revenue screen. I spent all night losing 1,000 crystals on failed potions. These guys walked in and dropped over 10,000 in one shopping spree. Maybe I should stop crafting and just let them do the earning. Who am I kidding? I'm the boss. They're the muscle. This is the greatest business model ever invented. I sit here drinking tea while immortal super soldiers go earn money and then spend it all in my store. I am the world's last shopkeeper, and business is booming. The system was bouncing around like a puppy that just discovered treats. Amazing. With 13,000 in revenue, you can max out your potion-making skill. Build a potion factory. Mass production. You'll be swimming in crystals. I stared at this floating idiot. You absolute walnut. It froze mid-bounce. What? I have enough revenue to upgrade the entire store to level 2. Why would I build a potion factory? Who am I making potions for? The 10 guys I already have? They can't drink more than 100 a day. You want me to build a factory producing thousands of bottles that just sit in a warehouse collecting dust? I pointed at the empty wasteland outside. If you walked out there, even the zombies wouldn't eat you. They'd be worried it would lower their IQ. The system's glow dimmed. It was doing math. Slowly. Let me break down my business philosophy real quick. I don't need more product. I need more customers. Right now I have 10 customers. 10. That's not a market. That's a book club. I need to expand the store, raise the player cap, bring in more people, and then worry about production. 10 customers is 10 leeks. You can't harvest a garden with 10 leeks. You need a field. The system tried to argue. Failed. Admitted defeat. That makes sense. I cannot refute this. Yeah, because I'm the businessman here and you're a fancy lamp. Upgrade the store. Level 2. Now. Cost. 10,000 source crystals. Every last coin from tonight's insane shopping spree. The whole building shook. White light exploded from the floor. Walls moved. Space stretched. It sounded like reality itself was getting renovated. When I opened my eyes, wow. My crappy 30 square meter shack had become an 80 square meter actual store. Real metal shelves instead of those wobbly wooden death traps. Longer counter. 2 extra checkout windows. A proper workshop in the back. Even a small warehouse. For the first time since arriving in this nightmare, my store looked like a place where a human might actually want to shop. Then the upgrade report came in. Level 2 unlocked. Employee capacity, 1,000. 1,000. Up from 10. 100 times more customers. I mean employees. 100 times more wallets walking through my door. New products unlocked too. Gene enhancement potions. Stuff that permanently boosts your physical stats. The soldiers would kill for this. Well, they already kill for everything, but they'd kill harder. Plus medium-tier health potions for when the basic ones stop cutting it. And a new personal feature. I could convert revenue into attribute points for myself. Make myself stronger. Finally stop being the weakest person in my own store. Things were looking up. Store upgraded, new products, bigger capacity. I was practically doing a victory dance. Then I saw the bottom of the screen. Blood red text. Flashing. Because of course it was flashing. Warning, monthly survival assessment activated. Countdown, 30 days. In 30 days, the store will face a massive beast tide. The safety barrier will be temporarily disabled. Defend the store or be erased. My smile died faster than Zhou Jian on his first night out. The barrier. My beautiful, perfect, invincible barrier that keeps every monster out. The one thing letting me sleep at night. Gone. For the duration of the attack. Meaning every monster out there, the ones my soldiers barely survive fighting with the barrier, will be charging directly at my store. And at me. The guy whose combat experience consists of kicking a counter and hurting his own toes. How big is the beast tide? I asked, voice cracking slightly. The system calculated. 3 boss-level monsters. 500 elite-level monsters. Common monsters, uncountable. 3 bosses. Remember that invisible chameleon that one-shot Zhou Jian like he was a mosquito? That's probably weaker than these bosses. 500 elites. And uncountable, regular monsters, because the system couldn't even be bothered to count that high. 30 days. 1,000 employee slots. and an army of nightmares heading straight for my front door. Every time, every single time, something good happens in this store, the universe immediately follows up with a death sentence. Upgrade complete. Also, you're going to die in a month. New products unlocked. Also, an infinite horde is coming to eat your face. I swear this system runs on my suffering. 3 bosses. 500 elites. Infinity regular monsters. In 30 days. And my shield turns off. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Everything is fine. I am not panicking. My hands are definitely not shaking as I tap the counter like a woodpecker having a nervous breakdown. Only one move. Call Qi Jingyang. Get more people. Lots more people. System, connect me to Qi Jingyang. Sure. Cross-dimensional calls cost 500 revenue per minute. Partial minutes charged as full minutes. 500 per minute? Are you running a phone company or a robbery operation? The system actually sounded hurt. I'm innocent. Cross-timeline calls use enormous energy. If you think it's too expensive, you don't have to call. Oh, I have to call. Because the alternative is death. Connect me. Connecting. Also, I really am innocent. Shut up. Qi Jingyang picked up instantly. The man keeps his phone on standby like he's waiting for a pizza delivery, except the pizza is classified intel from the future. It's me, Lin Mo. He started to make small talk. Small talk. At 500 crystals a minute. No time for chat. This call costs more than a luxury car per minute. I machine gunned the situation at him. Store upgraded. Level 2. Monthly survival test. Beast tied in 30 days. Fail equals death. Need people. Yesterday. How many? He asked. My cap went from 10 to 1,000. I heard his chair screch across the floor as he stood up. The man who stays calm during actual warfare just jumped out of his seat because I said a number. 1,990 new slots. Here's how I want them split. Every word cost me money. I talked faster than an auctioneer on espresso. 970 elite soldiers. Best of the best. Combat ready on arrival. 10 famous gaming streamers. Female preferred. Reasons should be obvious. 10 random civilian gamers. Guinea pigs. Beta testers. He was confused about the streamers. Why waste slots on entertainers? Marketing. After this beast tied, the store upgrades again. I'll need tens of thousands of people. We can't fill that with just military. We need the public. The streamers build hype. Exclusive access. First look at the most realistic game ever made. By the time we open the floodgates, people will be begging to get in. The 10 civilians are for testing how normal people react. If regular gamers lose their minds in there, we need to know before we launch to millions. Qi Jingyang got it immediately. Done. 2 hours for the soldiers. Streamers and civilians by tonight. Guaranteed. Then he hesitated. The supreme commander of a nation was being shy. Lin Mo, one more thing. Yes? Could you maybe send some health potions back to our side? This man saved my life. Gave me 1,000 soldiers. And he's asking for potions like a kid asking for extra dessert. Of course I'll send potions. Sure. Give me a bit. I'm out of stock. Understood. Thank you. Anything else? Because we're about to hit the 2-minute mark and I am not paying for nothing else. Stay SA. Click. I hung up so fast I probably broke a speed record. 1 minute 59 seconds. Just under the wire. Sorry, old man. Every second of chit-chat costs me a sword's worth of crystals. Somewhere on the other end, Qi Jingyang was holding a dead phone, shaking his head at my complete lack of social grace. Then he pressed his intercom and activated something called Operation Prairie Fire. 970 top special forces operators. 10 gaming celebrities. 10 lucky random civilians. Full dossiers on his desk in 10 minutes. The man operates at a speed that makes overnight shipping look lazy. Meanwhile, I stood in my newly upgraded store, staring at the 30-day countdown, doing the math in my head. 1,000 soldiers. 30 days of training. 3 boss monsters coming to destroy everything I have. This is either going to be the greatest defense in history or the world's most expensive funeral. No pressure. While I was stressing about beast tides and phone bills, Qi Jingyang was having the worst meeting of his life. Picture this. 5 of the most powerful old men in the country sitting in an underground conference room, and Qi Jingyang has to convince them to send nearly 1,000 elite soldiers to play a video game. It went about as well as you'd expect. Have you lost your mind? Old man Qian slammed the table so hard the teacups jumped. 980 Special Forces operators. To play games? They're national weapons, not internet cafe teenagers. Old Man Wei was nicer about it, but equally skeptical. We trust your judgment, Old Chi, but is a game really worth this much investment? Old Man Wu just sat there reading reports silently. Somehow that was scarier than the yelling. And at the head of the table, Old Man and sitting in a wheelchair. Had been for 30 years, ever since shrapnel destroyed the nerves in his legs. The man who'd given his ability to walk for his country. He didn't say anything. Just watched Qi Jingyang with eyes that had seen everything. Qi Jingyang stood his ground. I'm not crazy. That world is real. Everything I'm doing is for our nation's future. Future? Old Man Qian pointed at his water glass. If what you're saying is true, I'll eat this cup. And that is when I made my entrance. Sort of. See, I'd been listening to Qi Jingyang's request for potions and realized I have to send proof. Something undeniable. So I grabbed one health potion, slapped a sticky note on it, and told the system to transmit it. The transmission cost? 500 source crystals. For one potion that sells for 100 to 1 markup on shipping. I'm being robbed by my own system. I wrote my feelings on the note. Old Chi, shipping cost 500 crystals. Potion costs 5. That's a 100x markup. I'm broke now. Here's one potion. You'll get more when I'm not bankrupt. Very professional. Very dignified. But the timing was perfect. Right in the middle of Old Man Qian's rant, the air in the conference room warped like a ripple in water. A white light appeared, and a glowing red syringe materialized out of thin air and floated gently into Qi Jingyang's palm. Everyone shut up real fast. Old Man Qian's insult died in his throat. Old Man Wei's glasses nearly fell off. Even Old Man Wu looked up from his papers. Qi Jingyang held up the potion. This is my evidence. Then he did something absolutely insane. He walked straight toward Old Man N's wheelchair. What are you doing? Old Man Qian jumped up. You're going to test some mystery drug on Old N? But Old Man N just smiled. The kind of smile from someone who stopped being afraid of anything a long time ago. Try it, he said. I've been in this chair for 30 years. What's the worst that could happen? I'm already tired of living. Qi Jingyang rolled up the old man's pant leg. What was underneath made everyone's heart sink. 2 sticks wrapped in skin. Muscles completely wasted away after 3 decades of zero use. Bones brittle. Nerves dead. He uncapped the needle. A sweet, clean fragrance filled the room. So fresh and alive that even angry Old Man Qian stopped mid-breath and sniffed involuntarily. Needle in. Red liquid pushed. 1 second. 2. 3. Then Old Man N's face twisted in pain. His hands gripped the armrests so hard his knuckles went white. Under his skin, you could see things moving. Like tiny creatures running around under the surface. Muscles were regrowing. Nerves were reconnecting. 30 years of damage being reversed in real time. Crack. That was bone. Growing. Everyone heard it. Then the pain faded. Old Man N looked down at his legs. He wiggled his big toe. His big toe. The one that hadn't moved since before most of these soldiers were born. Tears poured down his weathered face. He grabbed the armrests. Pushed himself up. His legs were shaking. His whole body trembled. But inch by inch, this 80-something-year-old war hero who'd been told he would never stand again stood up. No crutch. No help. Just a man and 2 legs that had been dead for 30 years, brought back by the cheapest item in my store. It's real, he whispered. I'm really standing. Old Man Qian's jaw was on the floor. Old Man Wei's glasses slid to the tip of his nose. Old Man Wu dropped his pen and didn't even notice. 5 crystals. That's what that potion cost me to make. 5. The bargain bin product. The tutorial level freebie. The thing I mass-produce with a 50% failure rate on my rickety little work table. And it just made a paralyzed man walk. Somewhere in my dusty little shop, 55 years in the future, I was brewing more potions, completely unaware that my cheapest product had just won a political argument, convinced the most powerful council in the country, and made a war hero cry tears of joy. I should really raise my prices. So while I was busy brewing potions and trying not to have a panic attack about the incoming apocalypse wave, things were happening on Qi Jingyang's end that I only heard about later. That one potion I sent. The one that cost me 500 crystals to ship, but only 5 crystals to make. The one I sent with a passive-aggressive sticky note about how broke I am. It changed everything. Qi Jingyang walked into the meeting with the 5 most powerful elders in the country. These are the guys who run things behind the guy who runs things. Ancient, terrifying, I've seen empires rise and fall, type of old men. And they thought he was insane. Old man Qian, the angry one, was screaming. 980 elite soldiers to play video games? Have you lost your entire mind? Old man Wei, the polite one, basically said the same thing, but with manners. Old man Wu, the silent one, just stared. Somehow that was worse. And old man and the one in the wheelchair. War hero, legs destroyed by shrapnel 30 years ago. Hadn't stood up since before I was born. Qi Jingyang tried explaining. Nobody bought it. Old man Qian was so angry he pointed at his teacup and shouted, "If what you're saying is true, I'll eat this cup." And that's when my potion arrived. Right on cue. Materialized out of thin air in the middle of their classified underground bunker, floating in a little bubble of white light. With my crumpled note still attached. Old Qi, shipping was 500 crystals. Potion costs 5. I'm bankrupt now. Here's one. More later when I'm not poor. Very diplomatic of me. Every jaw in that room hit the floor. Something just appeared out of nothing in the most secure room in the country. Qi Jingyang grabbed the potion and walked straight to Old Man N's wheelchair. Old Man Qian tried to stop him. "You're going to test mystery drugs on N?" But Old Man N just smiled. "Try it. I've been sitting for 30 years. What's the worst? I sit some more." Qi Jingyang rolled up the old man's pant leg. 2 sticks of bone wrapped in papery skin. 30 years of muscle death. The kind of damage every doctor in the world had said was permanent and irreversible. He injected my 5-crystal bargain bin health potion. Under the skin, you could see things moving. Muscles rebuilding. Nerves reconnecting. Bones cracking as they grew stronger. Old man and gripped his wheelchair so hard his knuckles turned white. Then he wiggled his toe. His big toe, the one that hadn't moved in 3 decades. He started crying. This legendary warrior who'd survived wars without flinching, crying. Then he grabbed the armrests, pushed, and stood up. No help, no crutch, just stood there, shaking, but standing. Old man Qian stared, then looked at his teacup, then grabbed it and bit into it. Actually chomped down on the ceramic edge. Broke off a piece. Chewed it. "Bet's a bet," he yelled through a mouthful of broken porcelain, laughing like a madman. "If Olden can stand, I'd eat 10 pounds of worse things." Someone tried to stop him from literally eating a cup. Nobody succeeded. The man has principles about gambling debts apparently. After that, no more arguments. "No more. You're crazy." Every single elder was on board. Then came the fun part, the streamers. Qi Jingyang's people reached out to gaming influencers, including this guy called Wang Banxian, Wang the half-immortal, some cocky streamer who'd just beaten a supposedly impossible game in a week and was live-bragging about it to his audience. "Nothing can challenge me. Being unbeatable is so lonely." Then he got a message from the official platform account. 120 million followers, gold verified, offering him exclusive beta access to Wasteland Era. He almost deleted it as spam. His chat room saved him. "Dude, that's the real official account." He typed, "I'm in," faster than he'd ever typed anything. 3 minutes later, knock, knock, knock. He opened his door and nearly fainted. 2 fully armed SWAT officers standing there holding a silver briefcase. "Your Wasteland Era login equipment. Please sign for delivery. 3 minutes." From reply to doorstep delivery by armed special forces. Amazon could never. He opened the case on stream. Silver helmet inside. Sleek, futuristic, heavy. Put it on. Got sucked into the loading screen like a sock into a washing machine. Next thing he knew, he was face down on a dusty wooden counter in a ruined shop that smelled like rust, mold, and regret. "Welcome to MY Store, Hotshot. Let's see how unbeatable you feel after meeting your first zombie." My first streamer customer arrived. And oh boy, was he exactly what I expected. Wang Banxian, Wang the half-immortal, materialized face first on my counter like a sack of potatoes dropped from orbit. He peeled his face off the wood, looked around, and immediately started touching everything. The counter, the dust, his own leg, pinching, rubbing, sniffing, like a toddler discovering the world for the first time. "This is really a game? It's so real." "Yeah, buddy. Game, sure. Let's go with that." He found the live stream button, and suddenly his perspective was being broadcast to hundreds of thousands of viewers. The chat exploded. Within seconds, his audience shot through the roof. People were losing their minds over the graphics, the lighting, the particle effects on dust. Then this genius spotted me sitting in the corner, flipping my knife. "Hey everyone, I think this guy's an NPC. Hey buddy," smile for the camera. He leaned in with this goofy tourist at the zoo expression, examining me like I was a museum exhibit. So I did what any reasonable shop owner would do. I flicked my knife at his face, stopped it 1 centimeter from his eyeball. He flew backwards, crashed into a shelf, knocked over a bunch of empty cans, and screamed like he'd seen his own ghost. His heart rate probably tripled. "The NPC is just shy," he told his audience, voice cracking. "Shy. He almost got stabbed between the eyes, and he called me shy? I love this idiot already." His chat was dying laughing. Half Immortal got scared by and NPC. Thousands of comments roasting him in real time. He scrambled outside to start his mission. The second he opened my door, the smell hit him like a truck. 50 years of rot, decay, and urban decomposition delivered straight to his nostrils. Then he saw it. The wasteland. The ruins. The broken buildings. And his chat went absolutely nuclear. Because they recognized it. "Wait, that's the World Trade Center building from Jiangcheng. That's the plastic surgery billboard from downtown. I live near there." The geography is 100% accurate. The game map was a perfect one-to-one copy of a real city. Because it is that real city. 55 years later. After monsters ate everyone. But they didn't know that part. They just thought some insane game company had recreated an entire metropolis in apocalypse mode. Wang Banxian got all puffed up. "This is MY City. Home turf advantage. Zombies don't stand a chance." He dug through rubble looking for weapons. No guns. No swords. Nothing useful. Finally pulled out a rusty piece of rebar from under some rocks. About a meter long, sharp on both ends, covered in rust. He swung it around like a martial arts master. "Behold, my golden staff." Demons and monsters trembled before. His chat was already begging him to calm down. "Dude, the quest says high difficulty. It recommends grouping up. The other streamers are already forming teams. You're going solo with a rusty stick?" But Wang the Half-Immortal doesn't do. Caution, Wang the Half-Immortal does. Content. I watched him swagger out into the wasteland with his rusty rebar, 0 armor, 0 potions, and the confidence of a man who has never been punched by reality. From behind my counter, I started a mental timer. I gave him about 90 seconds before the screaming started. I watched this whole thing through the store window. Best entertainment I've had since arriving in this hellhole. Wang Banxian. Mr. Unbeatable is so lonely. Rejected every piece of advice his audience gave him. Group up? Team play? Strategy? Only weaklings team up. Lions hunt alone. He grabbed his rusty rebar, declared it a golden staff, and marched into the wasteland like he was the main character of an action movie. His chat was begging him to reconsider. He ignored every single message. 500,000 people were watching this man speedrun his own death. He found his zombie pretty quickly. Classic model, rotting business suit, half a face, eyeball dangling like a Christmas ornament. It was crouched over something, chewing. I don't want to know what. Wang Banxian crept up behind it, and when it turned around with that nightmare face, his entire body flinched. His legs literally shook. His chat flooded with about 10,000, "Oh God," messages simultaneously. But he's a streamer. He's got an audience. He can't look scared on camera. So he did what every terrified man with an ego does. He screamed an insult and charged. "Eat my golden staff." He jumped. Full anime leap. Both hands on the rebar. Swinging down with everything he had. He missed the head. Hit the shoulder instead. The vibration traveled back through the metal and nearly ripped the bar out of his hands. This zombie's bones were made of something that shouldn't exist in biology. Before he could recover, swipe. Zombie claw straight at his chest. He blocked with the rebar, but the force of it sent him flying backwards. Landed on his, but on a pile of broken rocks. OW, real pain. Real bruise. Real regret. The zombie pounced. Mouth wide open, aiming for his throat. Breath smelling like a dumpster that achieved consciousness and chose violence. His chat was having a collective heart attack. "Run. You're going to die. This is a starter mob? Who designed this?" Wang Banxian kicked the zombie in the gut, barely moved it, thing weighed a ton, and scrambled away on all fours like a terrified crab. Then he got up and ran. Someone help me. This is supposed to be a tutorial enemy. The swagger? Gone. The confidence? Evaporated. The lions hunt alone speech? Ancient history. This man was sprinting through the ruins, screaming at the top of his lungs, with a zombie hot on his tail. He dove into a narrow alley, climbed over a flipped tricycle, ripped his pants on something. His thigh was bleeding and burning. The pain was so real, he actually ran faster because his brain finally understood. If a scratch hurts this much, a bite would be unimaginable. The zombie, being stupid, crashed straight into the tricycle. Tripped. Fell. And that's when Wang Banxian's gamer instincts kicked in. The real ones. Underneath all the clowning and bragging, this guy actually knew how to play. He stopped running. Calculated. He was getting tired. Real physical exhaustion, lungs burning, legs heavy. Running was a losing strategy. His stamina wasn't infinite. He had to fight. He pressed his back against the alley wall, gripped his rebar like a spear, hands shaking, covered in a paste of sweat and dirt. The zombie untangled itself and charged again. But the alley was narrow. No room to dodge sideways. It was coming straight at him like a guided missile of rotting flesh. Wang Banxian screamed something deeply inappropriate about the zombie's ancestry. And then he did the one thing that actually works. He stabbed. Not swung. Not slashed. A straight, precise thrust aimed directly at the eye socket. The soft tissue offered zero resistance. The rebar slid in like a key into a lock. Through the eye, into the brain. He twisted it. The zombie froze. Its claws stopped 2 centimeters from his nose. 2 centimeters. He could see the dirt under its fingernails. Could feel the heat of its rancid breath. Then it went limp. Hung on the rebar like wet laundry. Dead. Wang Banxian held that pose for 30 seconds straight, too terrified to let go. Then he collapsed to the ground, gasping, shaking, covered in hot black blood. That was the tutorial enemy. 500,000 people just watched the unbeatable streamer nearly get killed by the weakest monster in the game, save himself through pure desperation, and sit on the ground looking like he'd just survived a car accident. And his viewer count? Still climbing. Perfect marketing. I was watching the live stream numbers from inside the shop. And let me tell you, Wang Banxian was doing my marketing job beautifully, without even knowing it. After killing that zombie, something clicked inside him. He went from, I'm going to die, to, that was the greatest experience of my life, in about 3 seconds. The emotional whiplash was incredible. He stood up on shaking legs, looked into his camera, and delivered the most genuine endorsement any product has ever received. If this game never shuts down, I will play it until I die. This is what real gaming is. Everything I played before was garbage compared to this. 500,000 viewers. Rockets and yacht emojis exploding across the screen. Donations pouring in. And this man was standing in MY Wasteland, covered in zombie blood, advertising MY Store's ecosystem without me spending a single crystal on marketing. He tried to find an inventory system to store the corpse. Open menus. Waved his hands around. Nothing. No backpack. Nope. Welcome to Wasteland era, buddy. You want to bring your kill back? You carry it. With your hands. Like a caveman. He grabbed the zombie's leg and started dragging it back. The corpse scraped across broken concrete, making the most disgusting wet meat on gravel sound imaginable. The smell was apparently so bad, he nearly threw up on camera. Why did they make the smell so realistic? Who asked for this? Me. I asked for this. Well, I didn't ask, but I live here, so everything smells like this all the time. You get used to it. Sort of. Not really. His chat was going insane. People demanding to know where to buy the game. Others refusing to believe it was real. There's no way VR tech is this advanced. Blink twice if you're being held hostage. Wang Banxian snapped at them. You think I'm faking this? You can't smell what I'm smelling through your screen. This is worse than squatting in a public toilet for 3 days straight. He held up his hand, dried black blood cracking on his skin, sticky and tight. You feel it coagulating. Tell me what graphics card does that. Then he said something that made me almost spit out my tea. Honestly, if I didn't know this was a game, I'd think I actually traveled to another world. Brother, you have no idea how close to the truth you are. He picked up the zombie leg again. Started heading back to my shop. Hope the store guy gives me something decent. I'd settle for a glass of water at this point. He froze. Sound. Coming from ahead. Soft at first. shuffling, dragging, like fabric scraping against walls, like dozens, no, hundreds, of feet sliding across pavement. Wang Banxian's survival instincts went from 0 to maximum in one heartbeat. He dropped the corpse, dove behind a pile of moldy cardboard boxes, pressed himself flat against the wall, held his breath. Through a crack between the wooden boards, he watched. One zombie shuffled past the alley entrance. Then another. Then 5 more. Then a flood. An endless river of rotting bodies pouring through the narrow alley. Missing limbs, exposed guts dragging on the ground. Faces that would make horror movie directors quit their jobs. So many you couldn't count them. A full zombie parade, and Wang Banxian had front row seats from behind a piece of plywood. One zombie had been hard enough to kill. This was hundreds. If they found him, they wouldn't just kill him. They'd turn him into confetti. He clamped his mouth shut. Didn't breathe. Didn't move. Became one with the cardboard. His live stream chat went completely silent. 500,000 people, and nobody typed a word. The fear had actually transmitted through the screen. Viewers at home, sitting in their comfortable chairs with snacks and blankets, were genuinely terrified watching a first-person view of a man hiding from a zombie horde behind. Wet cardboard. After a few seconds of absolute silence, one brave soul posted, "Friendly reminder. Those of you watching at home are allowed to breathe." Someone replied, "Thanks. I literally forgot. That is the power of Wasteland Era. A game so real that the audience forgets to breathe." And somewhere in the background of all this beautiful, terrifying, view count exploding content, my store's name was being burned into the brains of hundreds of thousands of potential future customers. Wang Banxian thought he was playing a game. His audience thought they were watching entertainment. But what was actually happening? The greatest product launch in marketing history. Free of charge. Powered by pure terror. I took another sip of tea. Business is good. I watched the whole thing on the livestream feed from my counter. Popcorn-worthy entertainment. Wang Banxian was hiding behind a piece of plywood. A piece of plywood. Between him and a zombie horde. His entire survival strategy was be a cardboard box. And honestly, it was working. The zombies shuffled right past him. Hundreds of rotting feet dragging by, inches from his hiding spot. He could see the dirt under their toenails. Sweat was dripping into his eyes, but he didn't even blink. His 500,000 viewers were collectively holding their breath. Nobody typed. Nobody moved. The entire internet was frozen in shared terror. The horde started thinning out. Almost safe. Almost free. He was probably already mentally composing his victory speech. "I am the chosen one. Nothing can." Shuffle. One pair of sneakers stopped right in front of his board. Then a face pressed against the crack in the wood. Female zombie. One eye missing. The other one cloudy and dead, staring directly at him from 5 centimeters away. And I swear, Wang Banxian later said she was smiling. Like, "Peek boo, found you." She ripped the board away like it was tissue paper. There he was, crouching in the corner, hands still in the holding a board position, looking like the world's worst hide-and-seek player. She screamed. Not a moan, not a groan, a scream. Like a dinner bell for every zombie in the neighborhood. Every single head in that horde turned toward him simultaneously. Dozens of milky dead eyes locking onto one terrified streamer like heat-seeking missiles made of rot. He tried to run. Bless his heart, he really did. Got about 1 step before the wave hit him. Zombies piled on top of him like a mosh pit from hell. 5, 10, 20 bodies crushing him to the ground. He fought, punched rotting faces, screamed curses at them. But it was like fighting the ocean. Every punch meant nothing against the tide. Then came the biting. Neck, arms, legs, everywhere. All at once. Through the live stream, I could hear his screaming. Not the dramatic movie kind, the real kind. The kind that comes from someone experiencing what it feels like to be eaten alive with 100% pain feedback. His camera went red, then black. System, you have died. Disconnecting. Back in the real world, this man launched out of his gaming chair like he was spring-loaded. Ripped off the helmet, threw it on the desk, sat there drenched in cold sweat, shaking uncontrollably, touching his own neck to make sure it was still attached. 5 full minutes of just breathing. Then he looked at his stream, still running. 500,000 people watching an empty chair and a sweaty man having an existential crisis. "I'm alive," he croaked. Just a bit too exciting. This game isn't made for humans. His chat went berserk. Half the comments were, "Are you okay?" The other half were, Do it again. Then he dropped the news that really hurt. 1 free life per day. I can't respawn until 6 a.m. tomorrow. The chat rioted. 1 life? What kind of game is this? Can't you buy extra lives? The developer hates money. But here's what matters. What really matters from my perspective as a shopkeeper watching his investment grow. Wang Banxian died. Horribly. On camera. In front of 500,000 people. Got eaten alive by zombies and experienced every second of pain. And his viewer count? It doubled during the death scene. People weren't leaving. They were sharing. Come watch this guy get eaten alive in the most realistic game ever made. He lost 1 life. I gained 1 million eyeballs. Every single one of those viewers just watched the most intense, most terrifying, most real gaming content ever created. And tomorrow morning at 6, they'll all be back, waiting, wanting more. Wang Banxian thinks he failed his mission. He didn't fail anything. He just ran the most successful advertisement in the history of entertainment. And he did it for free. I raised my teacup to the empty shop, to marketing, to zombies, to streamers who don't know when to shut up. Business is booming. I didn't even have to check the numbers myself. The system showed me the external network chatter, and what I saw made me want to kiss that stupid glowing ball. Every single streamer I'd been given, dead. All of them. Within the first hour. Old P lasted 2 minutes before a dog ate him. Goo Goo Cat got triple-teamed by zombies. She described their fingernails digging into her flesh and nearly threw up just typing about it. Z-Ran, who apparently has actual martial arts training, tried to fistfight a zombie and discovered that punching concrete bones hurts your hand more than their face. Su Xiaodu got killed and had her skirt torn by a zombie, which she was more angry about than the dying part. And Wang Banxian? Tactical logout, he called it. Sure, buddy. Very tactical. Very planned. Nothing says strategy like screaming while being eaten alive by 30 zombies on camera. But here's the beautiful part. They were all in a group chat together. Every big-name streamer. Comparing deaths like war stories. And instead of being traumatized into quitting, they were competing over who could get back in first. The problem? 1 free life per day? Can't respawn until 6 a.m. Unless you have source crystals. And source crystals? You can only get them inside my game. Inside MY store. Do you see what's happening? Do you see the economics of this? Somebody, some absolute genius of a player, had gotten a few crystals and listed one on an auction site. Price, 300 yuan. 300 real-world dollars. For 1 crystal. The thing I sell health potions for at 5 crystals a pop. My cheapest product costs 1,500 yuan in real-world money. My 5 crystal bargain bin potion is worth 1,500 bucks out there. And it's sold instantly. The streamers started a bidding war in the chat. Z-Ran offered 500 per crystal. Su Xiaodu, the girl who was more offended by zombie fashion crimes than actual death, offered 600. I'm going back in there and ripping that zombie's head off for touching my skirt. 600 yuan per crystal. Respawning costs 100 crystals. That's 60,000 yuan to come back to life once. And these maniacs were fighting over who gets to pay it. No cash shop. No microtransactions. No, buy gems, button. The game literally has 0 monetization, and people are spending more money than any pay-to-win game in history. Because they can't buy crystals from me. They have to buy them from each other. Supply and demand doing what supply and demand does. Mafong, the analytical streamer, nailed it. Whoever respawns first captures all the viewers. 1 extra minute of streaming right now is worth tens of thousands of new followers. They weren't paying to play a game. They were paying for attention. For content. For the chance to be the first person back in the most talked about experience on the entire internet. Wang Banxian sat in his apartment, staring at the ceiling, hands still shaking from phantom zombie bite pain, doing mental math. He gained 1 million followers from a 10-minute stream that ended with him being devoured alive. 1 million. And he couldn't get back in until 6 a.m. 20 hours of waiting while his competitors scrambled to buy crystals at insane prices just to respawn early and steal his audience. In 1 single morning, source crystals went from weird game currency to the hottest commodity on the internet. More valuable than Bitcoin in its early days. And the only place in the universe that produces them? My store. My crappy, dusty, recently upgraded level 2 convenience store at the end of the world. I am sitting on a gold mine. No, I am sitting on a diamond mine. Every zombie my soldiers kill, every crystal they earn, Every potion I brew, it all has real-world value now. And the demand is only going up. I leaned back in my chair and looked at the ceiling. 30 days until the beast tide tries to destroy everything. But if business keeps going like this, I might actually survive. I might even get rich. After I survived the 3 boss monsters and infinite horde trying to eat my face, of course. Minor detail. The streamer group chat was pure chaos, and I was loving every second of it. These 10 influencers, the biggest names in gaming, were all dead within the first hour of playing. Every single one. And instead of crying about it, they were having a bidding war over MY currency. Source crystals started at 300 yuan each, then 500, then 600, then 1,000. 1,000 real-world yuan per crystal. One crystal. The thing my soldiers earned by the handful from killing basic zombies. The thing I used to buy herbs that I failed to turn into potions half the time. That crystal is now worth $1,000 on the outside. Let me do some quick math here. A single health potion costs 5 crystals in my shop. At current street price, that's 5,000 yuan. For the cheapest medicine I sell, my bargain product, the one I was embarrassed about sending to Xinjiang because it seemed too basic, 5,000 yuan. I could cry. Then things got spicy. This streamer called Wild Fairy Tale, the luckiest human being alive, casually mentioned he had 200 source crystals. He literally tripped and fell next to a glowing rock in a trash can. Picked it up. 200 crystals. Just like that. Everyone else had been fighting zombies, running for their lives, dying horribly. And this guy face-planted into a fortune. The chat went feral. Old P was calling him Daddy. Ziran offered to send suggestive photos. Su Xiaodu turned on maximum cutesy voice. Everyone wanted those crystals. Ma Fong, the smart one, told him not to sell. Prices are only going up. This game just started. Everyone agreed. Not because they cared about Wild Fairy Tale's financial future, but because if he couldn't sell, then nobody could respawn, which meant they were all equally screwed. Beautiful solidarity. If I can't play, nobody plays. Then someone noticed Old P and Wild Fairy Tale had gone suspiciously quiet. Where'd those two go? Wang Banxian had a bad feeling. He checked Old P's stream. It was live. Title: Wasteland Era. First revival stream. Experience the Apocalypse, Resurrection Edition. This snake had secretly bought 100 crystals from Wild Fairy Tale through an in-game transfer system that nobody knew existed, respawned, and was now streaming to over 1 million viewers, stealing all the audience while everyone else sat dead in their apartments. Old P's stupid face was plastered across the screen, grinning like he'd just robbed a bank. Surprise. Old P is back, baby. You thought I was down? I'm never down. Wang Banxian's rage could have powered a small city. Where did you get source crystals? He typed in Old P's chat, his message glowing with VIP effects. Old P read it out loud on stream, laughing. Oh, is that half immortal? Still waiting in line? Sorry, buddy. Bought 100 crystals from our friend Wild Fairy Tale. Turns out the game has a transfer function. Who knew? 100 crystals at current market price. Over 100,000 yuan. Old P spent 100,000 yuan to respawn early and steal the streaming spotlight. And it was working. His viewer count was exploding. First person to come back from the dead in the most talked about game on the internet. Every second he was live, he was printing money in followers and donations. Meanwhile, there was also this mysterious screenshot floating around. Right before Wang Banxian died, another streamer captured a dark figure standing at the end of that alley, holding a massive fire axe, just watching him get eaten. Not a zombie, not an NPC, something else. That was actually one of my soldier employees on patrol, but they didn't know that. They thought it was some kind of secret boss lurking in the starter zone. Let them wonder. Mystery is good for business. From where I sat behind my counter, brewing potions and watching these numbers climb, I realized something incredible. I hadn't spent a single crystal on advertising. Not one. And my game was already the most talked about thing on the entire internet. Source crystals were trading for more than gold. Streamers were spending their life savings to respawn. Viewers were in the millions and growing. All because 10 people died horribly on camera and couldn't stop talking about it. Fear sells. Pain sells. And the promise of doing it again. That sells most of all. I am accidentally the greatest game developer in human history. And all I wanted was to not get deleted by a glowing ball. Wang Banxian spent the entire night staring at his screen like a starving man watching someone else eat steak. Old P, that beautiful backstabbing genius, had bought 100 crystals from Wild Fairy Tale through a transfer system nobody knew existed, Respawned, and was now the hottest streamer on the entire internet. His viewer count went from 1 million to 2 million to 3 million overnight. And what was he doing with this incredible opportunity? Was he fighting zombies? Exploring the wasteland? Pushing boundaries? Nope. He was standing in the safe zone. Talking. Just talking. Wouldn't step one toe outside. His stream title said, like to 5 million, and I'll go fight zombies. But his body language said, I will die in this safe zone before I go out there again. And people still watched. Millions of them. Because even watching someone stand around in my wasteland was more interesting than any other game on the internet. The atmosphere alone, the dust, the ruins, the distant zombie groans, was enough to keep people glued to their screens. Wang Banxian sat in his apartment all night. Didn't sleep. Ate dry bread. Drank cold water. Watched his rival's follower count climb while his own stream stayed dark. The second his clock hit 5:59, he slapped that helmet on like his life depended on it. Loading. Connecting. Respawning. He opened his eyes in front of my shop and immediately froze. Because there were people everywhere. Hundreds of them. Appearing in flashes of white light, one after another, filling up the safe zone like a concert venue. My 970 elite soldiers had arrived, and they were not messing around. No chatting. No sightseeing. No, while this is so realistic, they spawned, formed squads in seconds, and moved out in tactical formations like they'd been doing this their whole lives. Which, technically, they had. Because they're actual soldiers pretending to be gamers. Wang Banxian tried to do what streamers do. Hustle for resources. Hey bro, want to sell some source crystals? Top dollar. The soldier looked down at him. Literally down. This guy was a head taller and built like a refrigerator made of muscle, and said 2 words. Not selling. Then walked away like Wang Banxian was a traffic cone. He tried another one. Same result. And another. Nothing. These players didn't care about money. Didn't care about fame. Didn't even know who he was. They had one mission, and everything else was background noise. The other streamers gathered around him. Zran had offered 2,000 yuan per crystal and got treated like she was invisible. Mafong, the analytical one, was already connecting dots. These aren't normal players, he said. Look at how they move. Tactical formations. Hand signals. Cover positions. Designated scouts. They're not playing a game. They're running a military operation. He'd also done some digging overnight. Couldn't find anything about who made the game. The streaming platform told him to shut up and do his job. But through back channels, he'd picked up one nugget. Wasteland Era wasn't made by a game company. It was a government project. The platform was just helping with promotion. Su Xiaodu's eyes went wide. The government made a video game? Nobody had an answer for that. Wang Banxian didn't care. He had priorities. Revenge. Content. And dealing with Old P, who was still standing on a rock in the middle of the plaza, waving his stupid rebar around, bragging to 2 million viewers. Where's Old P? Wang Banxian growled. Su Xiaodu pointed. Over there. Still showing off. Wang Banxian cracked his knuckles. Let's go get him. From behind my counter, I watched all of this unfold with a cup of tea and a warm feeling in my chest. 970 professional killing machines were fanning out across the wasteland, already hunting zombies with ruthless efficiency. 10 streamers were generating millions of views and turning source crystals into the most valuable commodity on the internet. And they were all about to start spending money in MY Store. The ecosystem was working. The soldiers earned crystals, spent them on gear, killed more monsters, earned more crystals. The streamers created hype, attracted future customers, and drove up crystal prices. Supply, demand, marketing, labor force, all spinning like a beautiful machine. And I built the whole thing from a dusty counter with a glowing ball and a bad attitude. 29 days until the beast tied. Let's get to work. From behind my counter, I had the perfect view of the streamer drama unfolding in my safe zone. Better than television. Better than anything I'd watched in 2 lifetimes. Wang Banxian and his streamer posse marched across the plaza like a gang from a low-budget action movie. He was carrying a brick. Just a regular construction brick he'd picked up off the ground. Su Xiaodu had rusty scissors. Ran was cracking her knuckles like she was about to perform surgery without anesthesia. Target, Old P. The man who betrayed the group chat. Old P was mid-sentence in his stream. And then the zombie lunged at me. But I'm Old P, baby. I did a tactical slide. He felt them before he saw them. That predator sense thing. Turned around slowly. Wang Banxian. Brick in hand. Eyes bloodshot from zero sleep. Smiling like a man who'd made peace with violence. Hey, P-God. You were saying something about a tactical slide. Show us. Slide. Old P's confident grin melted like ice cream in a microwave. He tried hiding behind Wild Fairy Tale, who immediately threw him under the bus with the most beautiful betrayal speech I've ever heard. I'm sorry, everyone. I didn't want to sell him the crystals, but he offered so much money. Then he sidestepped, leaving Old P completely exposed. Old P's response was poetry. I might not be a good person, but you are a genuine dog. The beating commenced. Wang Banxian with the brick. Ran with her fists. Su Xiaodu, sweet little Su Xiaodu with her cute voice, was doing the most damage while cheerfully commenting. The combat feedback in Wasteland era is really satisfying. Every hit feels so real, she's terrifying. I love her. Their millions of combined viewers were going berserk. Multiple streams showing the same beatdown from different angles. The chat was moving so fast it was just a blur of laughing emojis and, I love this, messages. After Old P turned a nice shade of purple, they finally stopped. He was curled up in the fetal position, hands protecting his head with the practiced ease of someone who's been beaten up before. Impressive form, honestly. Then he played his get-out-of-jail card. I have intel. Everyone paused mid-punch. Turns out while everyone thought he was just standing around bragging all night, he'd actually bought some information. From MY Store. A quest rating, CAC. He made it sound super official. C is for difficulty. A is for reward rarity. C is for mortality rate. Wang Banxian squinted. You made that up. The store owner sold it to me. I swear on my life, he was telling the truth actually. I did sell him that info. Charged him a nice markup too. This streamer stuff was good for business, even when they were beating each other up instead of fighting zombies. The A, in the middle, high-value rewards, made everyone's eyes light up. Gamers can resist anything except rare loot. Fine, Wang Banxian said, dropping the brick. I'll believe you this time. But if you're lying, he pointed at Su Xiaodu's scissors. Little bunny here gives you a free vasectomy. Su Xiaodu snipped the air. Click, click. Old P clamped his legs together so fast he almost fell over. Then Ma Fong, always the responsible one, asked the real question. Has everyone finished the starter quest? Awkward silence. Out of 10 streamers, only 4 had actually completed the basic, kill one zombie and bring it back, mission. The other 6, including Wang Banxian, the man who just led a vigilante assault, hadn't even turned in their first quest. These are supposed to be my marketing team. My promotional geniuses. My hype machine. 6 of them couldn't kill one zombie and carry it home. Meanwhile, my 970 soldiers were already deep in the wasteland, operating in perfect formations, racking up kills and crystals like professional harvesters. The contrast was honestly beautiful. On one side of my safe zone, a disciplined army systematically dismantling the apocalypse. On the other side, 10 famous people arguing about who gets to hit whom with a brick. Both groups equally important to my business. One earns the money. The other makes sure the world knows about it. Balance. Harmony. Commerce. I took another sip of tea. My streamers finally got their act together. Sort of. Old P, despite being beaten to a nice shade of eggplant, had actually done something useful overnight. He and Goo Goo Cat had killed an extra zombie and stashed the body like squirrels hiding acorns. The 6 streamers who still hadn't finished the tutorial quest just had to drag that corpse to my counter, and boom. Quest complete. Group credit. Participation trophy gaming. I processed their submission, unlocked their remote recycling, and watched them march out the door like they were conquering heroes instead of people who needed a pre-killed zombie handed to them. To the death mine, Wang Banxian shouted, pointing dramatically westward. We claimed the A-rank reward. Very inspiring. Very heroic. That energy lasted about 20 minutes. They followed the trail my soldiers had already cleared, dead zombies everywhere, black blood still wet on the ground. Ma Fong kept examining the battle evidence with his analytical brain. These aren't normal players. This level of tactical coverage. Yeah, buddy. Those are professional killers pretending to be gamers. But you don't need to know that. They reached the mine entrance. Big, dark, scary hole in the ground. Classic dungeon vibes. But on the walls inside, glowing blue stones. Hundreds of them. Shimmering in the darkness like stars. Wang Banxian touched one. Blue fluorite. Rarity, rare. Recycling value. 3 source crystals per unit. 3 crystals per rock. And there were hundreds of rocks on this wall alone. The transformation was instantaneous. 10 battle-ready streamers became 10 gold-crazed miners in approximately 0.3 seconds. Money, Wang Banxian screamed, eyes bulging. Every single person opened the shop menu and bought a pickaxe. 1 crystal each. My cheapest product, and I just sold 10 of them in 1 second. Beautiful. Clink, 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 10 pickaxes swinging simultaneously. Sparks flying. The A-rank quest? Forgotten. Combat readiness? Gone. Dignity? Never existed. Wang Banxian was swinging so fast his arms were blurring. 3 crystals. 3 crystals. 3 crystals. He chanted with every hit like a deranged monk. Wild Fairy Tale did the math on stream. I sold crystals yesterday at 2,500 yuan each. 1 rock equals 3 crystals. That's 7,500 yuan per rock. I don't want to waste time mining, but it gives too much money. I can't stop. His chat exploded. 500 PR crystal. 1 rock is worth more than my monthly salary. I work for a month, and I'm worth less than a glowing pebble? Even Mafong, Mr. Cool and Analytical, was mining. With laser focus, hitting every weak point perfectly, maximizing efficiency like a human excavation machine. The man who 5 minutes ago was analyzing military tactics was now optimizing his pickaxe angle for maximum mineral yield. Their viewers were losing their minds. We came here for combat. For adventure. For zombie slaying. What they got? 10 famous people hitting rocks with hammers for money. I didn't subscribe for this. Where's the A-rank challenge? This is literally just a mining stream now. Nobody cared. Nobody even read the chat. They were drunk on crystal fever. Every swing was another 7,500 yuan. Every rock was a month's rent. Their brains had completely short-circuited. From my shop, I was grinning. Those pickaxes cost me basically nothing. They'd mine crystals, bring them back, and spend them in MY store. Then go mine more. The cycle was perfect. But here's the thing about mining in a dark cave in the apocalypse that these idiots apparently forgot. Caves have things in them. While they were cackling and swinging and counting imaginary money, nobody noticed the sounds coming from deeper inside. Tiny scratching noises. Like fingernails on stone. Like hundreds of tiny legs skittering across rock. Getting closer. Mafong heard it first. His pickaxe stopped mid-swing. Quiet. 2 words. Everyone froze. Because when the calm analytical guy says, quiet, in that tone, you listen. He looked up at the ceiling. Blue lights were flickering up there. Not the steady glow of minerals. These were moving. Pulsing. And between them, darkness that was shifting, crawling, alive. Then the ceiling fell. Not rocks. Bugs. A waterfall of black armored insects. Each one the size of a bottle cap, pouring down from above like living rain. Hundreds of them. 10 streamers. 10 pickaxes. 0 weapons. 0 armor. Standing in a dark cave they wandered into because they saw shiny rocks. Greed is a beautiful marketing tool, but it's a terrible survival strategy. I poured myself another cup of tea. This was going to be good. My streamers found the mine. They found the glowing blue rocks. They did math. And then their brains shut off completely. 10 professional gaming influencers, people who are paid to entertain audiences, simultaneously abandoned all combat objectives to become miners. Pickaxes swinging, sparks flying, mouths foaming about money. Wang Banxian was chanting 3 crystals, with every swing like a cult member. Wild Fairy Tale did live math on stream. 1 rock equals 7,500 real-world yuan. That's more than most people's monthly salary per rock. Their audiences were screaming at them. We came for zombie combat. This is a mining stream now. I didn't subscribe for this. Nobody read a single comment. Crystal fever had consumed them all. Even Ma Fong, the intellectual, was pickaxing with the intensity of a man possessed. And I was loving it. Those pickaxes cost me 1 crystal each. They'd mine rocks, convert them to crystals, and eventually spin those crystals in MY shop. The circle of commerce is beautiful. Then the cave reminded everyone why it's called the death mine and not the free money mine. Bugs. Black armored beetles the size of bottle caps, raining from the ceiling like a horror movie sprinkler system. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Wang Banxian smashed one with his pickaxe. Full power swing. Sparks flew off its shell like he'd hit a steel plate. The bug didn't even crack. It just got mad. It bit his leg, tore through fabric and flesh in one chomp. His scream could have shattered glass. Within seconds, everyone was screaming. Su Xiaodu was stomping and shrieking. The bugs had barbed legs. They stuck to you. Couldn't shake them off. Old P collapsed and started rolling on the ground, howling about where they were biting him. I don't want to know the specifics. 10 streamers. 10 pickaxes. 0 actual weapons. 0 armor. Standing in the middle of a bug tsunami in a dark cave they walked into because rocks were shiny. They lasted maybe 30 seconds. All 10 screens went black at the same time. You have died. You have died. You have died. Times 10. Their group chat erupted. Wang Banxian sent a 50-second voice message that was nothing but swearing. Pure, concentrated, weapons-grade profanity. I'm told it was impressive even by internet standards. Old P. This is your sea-level difficulty? I just respawned, and I'm already dead again. They did a post-mortem analysis like real gamers. Zran calculated the bugs had 5 times the defense of regular zombies. Normal iron tools couldn't even scratch them. Night Voice pointed out that even 100 players couldn't clear that cave with current equipment. Su Xiaodu quietly asked the question nobody wanted to hear. What if? We're just too weak? Even sea difficulty is impossible for us right now. Devastating. Accurate. Painful. Wang Banxian was back in his apartment, staring at his ceiling, doing the saddest math of his life. 2 days of playing. 1 completed quest. 2 deaths. 0 source crystals. And another 20-hour wait until his next free respawn. But here's what he didn't know. While he was mourning his digital life, his viewer count was still climbing. People were sharing clips of the bug attack. Watch 10 streamers get eaten by insects in the most realistic game ever. The death content was more viral than any victory would have been. Comments were pouring in. Why isn't my name on the beta list? Where do I sign up? I could play better than these people with my feet. That last one? That's what I want. That's the exact reaction that turns viewers into future customers. I could do better. The 4 most profitable words in gaming history. Meanwhile, back in my shop, I was handling actual business. I'd finally maxed out my potion-making skill. Every single initial life potion, perfect success rate. But to unlock the gene enhancement potion, the real moneymaker, I needed a laboratory. To get a laboratory, I needed a potion factory. To get a potion factory, I needed max potion skill. This system designs progression trees like a sadist designs obstacle courses. Every step requires the step before it, which requires the step before that. It's like being told you need a job to get experience, but you need experience to get a job. But I finally jumped through every hoop. System. Build the potion factory. Cost. 10,000 revenue. Proceed? Proceed. 10,000 crystals. Gone in a blink. But this factory would let me mass-produce potions and unlock the gene enhancement lab. 1,000 soldiers buying supplies daily. 10 streamers making my game famous. Millions of viewers begging to play. And now a factory to manufacture the products they'll all need. 28 days until the beast tied. The machine is running. Now I just need it to run fast enough. The potion factory materialized behind my shop like someone hit place building in a city simulator. No construction workers, no cranes, no 6-month delays. Just reality folding itself into a new shape and boom. Industrial-grade pharmaceutical facility, ready to go. 1,000 potions per hour. Per hour. I used to spend an entire night making 100 and failing half the time. Now I had a machine doing it while I drank tea. This is what progress looks like, people. This is why you invest in infrastructure. But factories need raw materials. And the main ingredient for everything, health potions, gene potions, all of it, is monster blood. Specifically, the cheap grunt-level monster blood. The stuff that literally pours out onto the ground every time my soldiers kill something and nobody bothers collecting it. Waste. Beautiful, profitable waste. Just sitting there in puddles, waiting to be scooped up. Now, I could buy blood from the system store. But that costs revenue, and revenue is sacred. Revenue upgrades my store. Revenue builds factories. Revenue keeps me alive. Spending revenue on raw materials when I have 1,000 free laborers outside is like paying for tap water at a restaurant. So I did what any good capitalist would do. I created an event. Global announcement. Limited time blood collection event. Sell monster blood to the store for source crystals. Top 3 collectors win a free gene enhancement potion. I leaned back and watched the fireworks. The announcement hit every player simultaneously. 1,000 screens lit up with golden exclamation marks. My soldier squad was on top of a ruined building when they saw it. Chen Feng dropped his binoculars. Zhou Jian stopped polishing his knife. Everyone crowded around the notification like kids around an ice cream truck. Gene enhancement potion? They whispered, like they'd just read the name of God. Chen Feng, always the analyst, broke it down. Gene potion almost certainly means permanent stat boosts. Physical evolution. This could be the breakthrough we need to fight stronger monsters. Up until now, these elite soldiers had top-tier weapons and combat skills, but their bodies were still regular human. One zombie scratch men infection. One bug bite men a broken leg. If they could upgrade their actual biology. But here's the cruel part. Only 3 potions. For 1,000 players. 3 out of 1,000. Worse odds than getting into medical school. Chen Feng's brain went into overdrive. We can't compete individually. Other squads are just as organized. So we pool everything. All 10 of us collect blood. All of it goes to one person's account. Who? Everyone asked. Zhou Jian. He's our close combat specialist. He needs the physical boost most. Zhou Jian's face went through about 7 emotions in 2 seconds. Then he launched himself at Chen Feng, picked him up, and bear-hugged him like a child hugging a teddy bear. Captain, I love you. Put me down. And don't celebrate yet. Chen Feng looked out the window. In the distance, sounds of combat were already erupting across the wasteland. Other squads had read the same announcement. The blood rush had begun. From now on, not a single drop gets wasted. This isn't hunting. This is a race. Meanwhile, my dead streamers were seeing the announcement too, from the afterlife. Sitting in their apartments, staring at their dark screens, reading about an event they couldn't participate in because they were all dead. Wang Banxian was probably putting his fist through a wall right now. And Lei Yu, cleaning his machine gun, mentioned something interesting about the death mine bugs. I fired 10,000 rounds at those things. Not a single casualty. Those beetles are indestructible, but also, they can't leave the dark. They're afraid of light. I filed that away. Interesting. Very interesting. As for the event itself, pure genius, if I do say so myself. I needed blood. They wanted crystals and gene potions. I dangled a carrot, and now 1,000 trained killers were about to turn every monster in a 5-mile radius into a juice box. I get free materials. They get motivation. The factory gets fed. The potions get made. Everyone's happy. Except the monsters. The monsters are having a very bad day. While I was setting up my factory and watching blood collection numbers pour in, Chen Feng's squad went shopping for trouble. They bought one of my F-level intel reports, the cheapest rating. And before anyone asks, yes, F-level is the easiest tier. That's why it costs the most. Because you can actually survive it. Those flashy high-letter ratings that sound impressive? Those are cheap because you're paying for your own funeral. The streamers learned that the hard way with their A-rank reward, Bug Cave. But Lei Yu and Zhou Jian were complaining anyway. F-level? Really, Captain? We've got full epic weapons now. We should be hunting elites. Chen Feng ignored them. Smart man. Alive man. They walked 30 minutes to a dead desert. Dried up trees sticking out of sand, dunes like skeleton fingers. Complete silence. Not a single living thing visible. Zhou Jian relaxed. See? F-level. Boring. Probably just dig up some sandworms and crack. The ground under his foot collapsed. Then the entire desert came alive. Black ants. Thousands of them. Each one the size of a German shepherd. Armored in shells that reflected sunlight like polished metal. Jaws clicking like industrial bolt cutters. Combat power, 28. Level, F-. Just 28, you'd think. Easy, Zhou Jian swung his epic sword at one. Sparks flew off its head like he'd hit an anvil. The ant shook it off and tried to bite his leg clean off. 28 combat power? This shell is made of iron. Han Bing calmly suggested targeting the joints. Classic nerd move. Also correct. Lei Yu finally got to use his new toy, a 6-barrel Gatling gun. The thing roared to life, spitting half-meter-long flames, turning the front row of ants into green soup. Legs and shell fragments flying everywhere. "This is what I live for," he screamed, laughing maniacally while hosing down insects with military-grade firepower. My soldiers were handling it. Barely. The ants kept coming, wave after wave, pouring from every hole in the sand like the desert itself was bleeding bugs. Then Han Bing screamed the worst possible sentence. "The vibration source is moving. It's under us." The sand started spinning. A whirlpool, getting bigger, faster, and then the ground exploded. A shadow the size of a building launched from underground. Sand rained down like a storm. When the dust cleared, standing 40 meters tall, literally standing, vertical, towering over everything, was a giant worm. No eyes, just a mouth. A round mouth covering its entire face, filled with rings of rotating teeth. Like looking into a garbage disposal the size of a swimming pool. Sand Abyss Lord, Juvenile, Level, Elite Combat Power, 219 rating. F, 219, Zhou Jian's voice cracked. "This is F level? Did the intel guy confuse it with S?" "No, Zhou Jian. It's F level because the ants are F level. The giant death worm that lives under the ants? That's just the surprise inside. Also, it says juvenile. That means this is the baby version. Somewhere out there is a mama worm. Let's not think about that." The worm looked down at 10 tiny humans with its circle of spinning teeth. Then it slammed straight down like a falling skyscraper. Boom. Ground shattered. Hundreds of tons of sand vanished into its mouth, along with a few dozen of its own ants. It ate its own minions and didn't care. This thing was a living excavator with no loyalty. Retreat. Everyone fall back. They turned to run. The road back was gone. Where they'd come from, solid concrete 20 minutes ago, was now a massive canyon. Bottomless. Dark. And from inside the darkness, the sound of thousands more ants climbing up the walls. Front, 40-meter death worm. Back, bottomless pit full of ants. Sides, infinite ant army. Chun Feng gripped his sword until his knuckles went white. "The intel was wrong," someone whispered. "No, it wasn't. I sold them accurate information. F-level ants. F-level zone." The worm was the plot twist. Every dungeon has a boss. They just didn't read the fine print. And somewhere in the back of Chun Feng's mind, I could practically hear him thinking. Qi Jingyang said to trust Lin Mo. "Yeah, buddy, trust me. I didn't send you there to die. I sent you there to get me blood samples." The dying part is just. Over time, I was watching the live feed from my store when Chun Feng did something that made me choke on my tea. He looked at a 40-meter death worm, an infinite army of armored ants, and a bottomless canyon blocking their escape, and said one word: fight. His entire team looked at him like he'd grown a second head. Zhou Jian screamed, "You're insane. You've actually lost your mind." Then, 1 second later, his face did a complete 180. Terror to excitement, like flipping a light switch. "But you're the captain, so I guess we're doing this." He grabbed his sword and charged. This man has two personalities, and they're both crazy. Here's the thing. Chun Feng wasn't being stupid. He was being brilliant. I sold him F-level intel. I don't sell fake information. If I say it's F-level, it's beatable. The terrifying appearance is just wrapping paper. There's always a weakness. Chun Feng figured this out in about 3 seconds while everyone else was busy having panic attacks. If the ant's weakness is their joints, then the giant worm has a weakness too. Big body means big vulnerabilities. You just have to find them. He turned into a battlefield general on the spot. Orders flying like bullets. Han Bing, track the worm's movement pattern. Han Bing started reporting, then froze. "Captain, there's a second worm approaching from the south. 2 giant death worms." Because one wasn't enough apparently. This wasteland has a sick sense of humor. Chun Feng didn't even flinch. Just kept issuing commands. "Zhao Yunfeng, you're the fastest. Run north. Bait the first worm. Zigzag pattern. Make it slam its head into the ground." Zhao Yunfeng sprinted off like a human missile, screaming insults at a 40-meter worm. "Come on, you ugly tube. Over here." The worm, possessing roughly the IQ of a potato, took the bait. It reared up and slammed its head into the sand like a meteor. And there it was. The weakness. When the worm attacks, it has to lift its body, exposing its underbelly, a section of soft, pale, unarmored flesh between the head and the torso. No shell. just squishy meat with visible blood vessels. Now, Chin Feng roared. Lei Yu aimed his Gatling gun at that soft spot and unleashed. Same bullets that bounced off ant shells like rubber balls. They went through that belly flesh like hot knives through butter. Green goo erupted like a broken fire hydrant. Chunks of worm meat spraying everywhere. The worm shrieked, a sound that came from underground and made the sand itself vibrate. Then thrashed around wildly, accidentally crushing hundreds of its own ants, before burrowing back underground, trailing green blood. Mortally wounded, running away to die. We did it. Someone started cheering. For about half a second. Boom. The second worm burst from the south, bigger than the first, angrier than the first. Zhou Jian looked at it, smiled. This one's mine. His sword started glowing blue, humming at a frequency that made the air vibrate. He charged straight at the second worm, while Lei Yu cleared a path through the ants with a wall of bullets. Zhou Jian ran along the worm's body, dragging his blade against its armored shell, creating a trail of sparks and the most horrifying metal-on-metal screech I've ever heard. Like nails on a chalkboard magnified 1,000 times. The worm noticed, turned its giant circular mouth toward him, open wide. The suction alone nearly ripped him off the ground. And Zhou Jian, this absolute lunatic, looked at those spinning rings of teeth, that biological garbage disposal the size of a house, and jumped into the mouth. On purpose. Can't break the outside? Fine. I'll destroy you from the inside. His voice disappeared into the worm's throat. I set down my tea very carefully. This man jumped into a giant worm's mouth with a glowing sword. Voluntarily. While being live-streamed to my security feed. I used to think I was the craziest person in this apocalypse. I was wrong. Zhou Jian exists. Zhou Jian looked at a building-sized monster and thought, I should climb inside it. These soldiers are absolutely unhinged, and I have never been more grateful for anything in my life. Zhou Jian jumped into a giant worm's mouth. With a sword. On purpose. Let me say that again because my brain still can't process it. He voluntarily entered the digestive system of a building-sized sand monster because, and I quote, can't break the outside? I'll destroy it from the inside. This man's problem-solving approach is, become the problem. From inside the worm, all anyone could hear was the sound of a high-speed blender meeting a chainsaw. 3 seconds of the most horrifying cutting noises imaginable. The worm seized up, thrashed like a fish on land, and then just collapsed. 40 meters of armored death tube, falling over like a chopped tree, crushing hundreds of its own ants into pancakes. Then Zhou Jian crawled out of its mouth, covered head to toe in yellow-green acid slime. Smoking. Literally smoking. The stuff was dissolving his clothes and his skin. His left arm was bent the wrong way. Completely snapped. But alive. The absolute madman was alive. Chin Feng rushed over and jabbed him with 2 health potions. Bones snapped back into place. Skin regrew. The man who'd just performed surgery from inside a monster's stomach was back on his feet in under a minute. With both boss worms down, one dead, one fled, the ant army lost its hive mind signal. Millions of ants suddenly had no orders. So they did what confused, angry insects do. They ate each other. Crisis over. Buffet open. Self-service. Collect the blood. Now, Chin Feng barked, snapping everyone back to work mode. Zhou Jian started recycling everything in sight. The dead worm boss alone was worth 519 crystals. Then the ants. Thousands of crushed, shredded, half-eaten ant corpses scattered across the desert. His blood collection counter went insane. 200,000 milliliters. 300,000. 400,000. Final count. 420,746 milliliters. Second place on the leaderboard. Some guy called Mountain Wild Peppa Pig with barely 50,000. Zhou Jian looked at the name and lost it. Mountain Wild Peppa Pig? Is that a real name? Were his parents even present at his birth? He scrolled down. Third place. Puppy Little Chiao. What is wrong with people? Chin Feng mentioned casually that you could change your in-game name for 100 crystals. 100? For a name? That's 20 health potions. I'd rather be called Zhou Jian forever than waste money on vanity. This man will jump into a worm's mouth, but draws the line at cosmetic purchases. Priorities. Then they found something incredible. At the bottom of the crater the worm had blasted open, growing in the dark like the world's creepiest houseplant. A single purple-red plant with scales instead of leaves and a fist-sized pitch-black fruit on top. Veinous surface. Faint glow. Smelled intoxicating. Chen Feng read the description and stopped breathing. Moon phantom fruit. Absorbs underground dark energy and high-level biological essence. Consumption greatly enhances mental power with a chance of awakening special perception abilities. Recycling value, 150,000 source crystals. 150,000. The elite-level sandworm boss, the thing that nearly killed all 10 of them, recycled for 519 crystals. This single fruit was worth 289 of those worms. Zhao Yunfeng counted the zeros out loud. 10. 100. 1,000. 10,000. 100,000? Am I hallucinating? Lei Yu scratched his head. Mental power? Will it make me smarter? Han Bing. Probably means enhanced reaction speed, sensory perception, maybe even supernatural abilities. Lei Yu. Processing this. So. Not smarter. The debate started immediately. Sell it. That's 150,000 crystals. Enough to fund their entire squad for weeks. Never worry about resurrection fees again. Or eat it. Crystals can be earned. Equipment can be bought. But a fruit that might give you superpowers? That's once in a lifetime. Qin Feng settled it. Don't sell. Crystals are replaceable. This isn't, smart man. From my shopkeeper perspective, I was slightly disappointed. 150,000 crystals flowing through my store would have been beautiful. But honestly, if that fruit makes one of my employees strong enough to help survive the beast tide in 28 days, it's worth more than any amount of crystals. Besides, they'll spend plenty of money soon enough. They always do. The team gave the moon phantom fruit to Qin Feng. No arguments. No jealousy. Zhou Jian, the guy who literally crawled inside a worm to kill it, just said, "Captain, you eat it." Everyone nodded. These soldiers have a level of trust and teamwork that makes me emotional. And I don't do emotional. I'm a shopkeeper. I sell things to people and judge them silently. Qin Feng bit into the fruit. Black as ink, cold as ice, tasted like sweet blood apparently. Then his brain exploded. Not literally, but he grabbed his head, almost dropped to his knees, and screamed at everyone to stay back. The pain passed, and something changed. A black claw-mark tattoo appeared on his neck, glowing faintly, like the universe itself had stamped him with a upgraded label. Then Qin Feng opened his eyes and could suddenly perceive everything within 100 meters. Not just see, feel. Every dust particle floating in the air. Every blade of dead grass behind a sand dune. A scorpion digging a hole 2 meters underground. All of it, mapped in his brain like 3D sonar. But that wasn't even the cool part. He looked at a piece of ant shell on the ground. It floated up. No hands. No touching. Just his mind lifting a chunk of armor into the air. It hovered. It rotated. It just hung there, defying physics, while 10 elite soldiers stood around with their jaws on the floor. Lei Yu's cigarette fell out of his mouth. Is that telekinesis? Are you Magneto? Qin Feng didn't answer. He was too busy testing. He looked at an ant corpse 50 meters away, the kind with armor so tough their best weapons bounced off, and flicked that floating shell fragment at it with his mind. Whoosh. The fragment turned into a black streak, punched clean through the ant's skull, in one side, out the other, then buried itself in solid rock behind it. The ant that they needed epic tier weapons to even scratch just got one shot by a piece of its own friend's face, thrown by a guy's brain. Zhou Jian hugged his sword tighter. That penetration is stronger than a sniper rifle. If he used something smaller. That's the ultimate assassination technique. Qin Feng collapsed against a rock, exhausted. A few seconds of psychic power drained him like 3 sleepless nights. Powerful but expensive. Like everything good in this world. But worth it? Absolutely. My best employee just became a psychic super soldier. In 27 days, when boss-level monsters come knocking on my door, I need every advantage I can get. A telekinetic squad leader is exactly what the doctor ordered. Meanwhile, back in the real world, something interesting was happening. My 10 civilian beta testers were being selected. One of them was a construction worker named Wang Damon. Big rough guy. Cement dust in his wrinkles. Sitting in a cramped workers' dormitory during a rainstorm, phone with a cracked screen, smoking cheap cigarettes. His construction site was flooded. No work for a week. No work means no pay. No pay means no food for his family. Wife, kids, elderly parents needing medicine, school fees, everything piling up like debt bricks. Then his phone buzzed. Official message from the streaming platform. Congratulations. You've been selected as one of 10 beta testers for Wasteland Era. He didn't play games. Didn't know what VR was. Didn't care about metaverse or virtual reality. But he'd seen the news. People selling source crystals for thousands of yuan each. Players making more money in a day than he makes in a month. He stared at that cracked screen in the dim light of his bunk bed. Maybe, just maybe, this was the break he needed. And from my perspective, 55 years in the future, this was exactly the kind of person I wanted. Not a gamer, not a streamer. A regular human being with nothing to lose and everything to gain. The streamers bring me viewers. The soldiers bring me strength. But the civilians? They bring me data. How does a normal person react to my world? Can they survive? Can they adapt? Can they become customers? Because if Wasteland Era is going to scale to millions of people someday, it can't just be for elite soldiers and famous influencers. It has to work for guys like Wang Daming, the guy with cement in his wrinkles and a family counting on him. Let's see what he's made of. My 10 civilian test subjects arrived, and they were nothing like I expected. No gamers, no streamers, no soldiers, just 10 construction workers from a rainy job site with empty pockets and cement under their fingernails. Their leader was Wang Daming, Big Fierce Wang, a barrel-chested guy with a voice that could crack concrete. He'd gotten the beta invite on his cracked phone while sitting in a tin-roof dormitory during a rainstorm, broke, unemployed for the week, with a family counting on every penny he couldn't earn. His recruitment speech to his buddies was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Hey, I got a thing. It's a game. A game? I'm 40 years old. Games don't put food on my table. This one does. It's Wasteland Era. Silence. They'd all seen the news. Crystals selling for thousands. Players making bank. You sure about this, Big Fierce? Nope. But it's raining, we're broke, and we've got nothing to lose. If it's fake, we walk away. If it's real, he cracked open a beer with one hand. Foam running over his calloused knuckles, took a huge swig, and wiped his mouth. That we change our lives forever. I'm in. Me too. Count me in. Then SWAT showed up with 10 gaming helmets. At their construction dormitory. In the rain. These rough, dirt-covered laborers watched fully armed Special Forces officers deliver sci-fi headgear to their bunk beds and thought, yeah, this seems legit. They logged in. And immediately spawned into a sandstorm. Because of course they did. The one day we have terrible weather, that's when the civilians arrive. Sand blasting their faces like industrial sandpaper. Mouths full of grit. Eyes burning. One guy was on the ground, dry heaving from the teleportation sickness. This is a game? Why does it feel like someone's grinding my face with sandpaper? They stumbled through the storm, holding onto each other, half blind, and Wang Daming spotted my shop through the haze. Run for that building, he screamed, inhaling half a pound of sand in the process. He kicked my door open. Thanks for that, buddy, and all 10 of them tumbled inside like a pile of dirty laundry. I was standing behind my counter, calmly polishing a can of food. Looked up at 10 sand-covered construction workers sprawled across my floor. Welcome to Wasteland Era. I handed them the contracts. No tutorial. No hand-holding. Sign here. Become an employee. Here's your first quest. Kill a zombie. Bring back the body. Wang Daming didn't even read it. Just slapped his palm on the screen. The others followed. These guys would have signed a deal with the devil himself if it came with a paycheck. Actually, they kind of just did. Then I looked outside at the raging sandstorm and gave them my honest advice. Visibility is under 5 meters out there. Going out now is basically suicide. I'd recommend waiting inside until it clears up. Good advice. Sensible advice. The kind of advice a reasonable person would follow. Wang Daming shook his head. Thanks, boss. But I've been lying in bed for days. Any longer, and I'll grow mold. His buddy chimed in, spitting sand. We're construction workers. We've eaten worse than a little breeze. This is nothing. Wang Daming pushed open my door. Wind screaming. Sand flying. Zero visibility. A hellscape that even my trained soldiers would think twice about entering. He turned back to me with the biggest, yellowest grin I've ever seen. The bigger the waves, the more expensive the fish. Let's go, boys. Time to work. And just like that, 10 broke, middle-aged construction workers charged into a sandstorm in the apocalypse to fight zombies they'd never seen. With zero weapons, zero training, and zero fear. I stood there holding my cleaning rag, watching them disappear into the wall of sand. These guys aren't soldiers. They aren't gamers. They aren't influencers. They're just regular people who've been beaten down by life so many times that a monster-filled wasteland doesn't even register as scary anymore. You know what? I think they're going to be just fine. The streamers cried after their first death. The soldiers analyzed every threat. But these guys, they just cracked open a beer and walked into the storm. That is the energy I need in my store. My construction workers marched into a sandstorm holding hands like kindergartners on a field trip. A human chain of 10 broke, middle-aged men stumbling through zero-visibility apocalypse weather, gripping each other's sweaty palms. They found a collapsed supermarket, tore through it like raccoons in a dumpster. Empty. This one's empty too. This game is cheap. Then someone found treasure. Not weapons. Not armor. Not crystals. Cigarettes. A crushed, faded pack wedged behind a cash register. Still dry. Still smokable. Wang Daming's hands were shaking as he tore open the package. Someone produced a lighter from their pants. Don't ask where exactly. And within seconds, 10 construction workers were standing in the ruins of civilization, smoking in a sandstorm, absolutely vibing. This taste is perfect, one of them moaned. No wonder my kid is addicted to games. They've gotten this good. This cigarette hurts my lungs but heals my soul. I watch from inside my shop. These men just discovered that virtual cigarettes exist, and they were happier than any streamer who found a rare mineral deposit. Priorities. After their smoke break, they scavenged weapons. Rusty pipes. Chipped kitchen knives. Wang Daming found a corroded machete that looked like it had been buried for 50 years. Which it had. They marched out to find their zombie. Found one almost immediately. Rotting suit, dangling eyeball, the classic model. Is that the thing? One of them asked, sweating. Who cares? Kill it. Get paid. Sherboda, the dumb brave one, grabbed a brick and charged. He got tackled instantly. The zombie moved 10 times faster than any movie zombie. Sherboda was on the ground screaming before his brick even came close. Blood everywhere. Then it got worse. Much worse. Wu Yongyan tried to help, got his throat bitten clean through. Dead before he hit the ground. Su Weijia reached for the body, got his stomach clawed open. 9 construction workers versus 1 zombie. No training. No coordination. No strategy. It was a massacre. These guys fought like they were in a bar brawl. Everyone swinging randomly, getting in each other's way, tripping over bodies. The zombie was basically fighting a mob of panicking civilians and winning. But Wang Daming, big fierce himself, never stopped. Eyes red, screaming, hacking at the zombie's neck with his rusty machete until the blade got stuck in its spine. When the machete jammed, Fu Jin bear-hugged the zombie from behind like a human straitjacket. Use a rock. Smash its head. Wang Daming found a chunk of concrete. Must have weighed 50 pounds. He lifted it over his head like it was made of paper and brought it down. Crack, crack, crack. Over and over. Black blood spraying everywhere. Until the zombie finally stopped moving and Wang Daming collapsed next to it, completely drained. He looked around. 9 bodies on the ground. Every single one of his brothers. Dead. All of them. He was the last man standing, covered in black blood and concrete dust, surrounded by the corpses of his friends, sitting next to a zombie he'd beaten to death with a rock. 1 zombie. 10 men. 9 casualties. For comparison, my trained soldiers killed their first zombie with tactical formations and elite weapons, losing 0 people. The streamers at least had gaming instincts. These guys. Pure chaos. Pure heart. Pure carnage. Wang Daming dragged that zombie corpse back to my shop through the sandstorm. Alone. I don't know how he found his way. Sheer stubbornness probably. I looked at him. Bleeding, exhausted, barely conscious, dragging a headless corpse behind him like a garbage bag. Not bad, I said. Quest complete. Reward. 3 source crystals. 3 crystals. 9 friends dead. 1 zombie killed with a concrete block. The worst kill-to-death ratio in Wasteland-era history. But here's what happened next that made my jaw drop. Back in the real world, the dead workers woke up screaming, clutching their throats, their stomachs, rolling off bunk beds. The pain echoes were still firing in their brains. I quit. Never again. This isn't a game. It's torture. That money isn't worth it. Wang Daming ignored all of them. He grabbed his phone, opened the streaming app, Searched, Wasteland-era crystal buyers. Found Wang Banxian stream. Buying source crystals. 1,500 each. Any quantity. Wang Daming's rough, cement-stained fingers typed 4 words. 3 crystals. You buying? Instant reply. Yes. All of them. 3 crystals. 1,500 each. That's 4,500 yuan. These men earn maybe 200 yuan a day hauling concrete. When there's work. Which there isn't right now because it's raining. Wang Daming just earned 3 weeks of construction wages by beating a zombie to death with a rock during his lunch break. The complaining stopped real fast. Wang Banxian almost had a heart attack when Wang Daming messaged him. A seller. An actual source crystal seller. Only 3 crystals, but that's like finding water in the desert. He wired 4,500 yuan instantly. No haggling. No hesitation. Back in that tin-roof dormitory, Wang Daming's phone dinged. Account ending 5678. Received 4,500 yuan. Balance. 4,512.50 yuan. That balance tells you everything. Before this transaction, the man had 12 yuan and 50 cents to his name. Now he had 4,512. He held up his phone to the room, full of groaning, traumatized construction workers. Money's here. Silence. From the zombie. 500 split 10 ways. 450 each. The transformation was instantaneous. Su Weijia, the guy clutching his stomach 5 seconds ago swearing he'd never play again, let go of his belly. For 50? In 20 minutes? I make 200 a day hauling concrete. Wu Yongyan, the man who had his throat bitten out, stopped gasping. Just stopped. Like the memory of death was a minor inconvenience compared to the memory of being broke. Sherboda climbed off the floor, dusted himself off, and grabbed his helmet. That zombie bite felt like a mosquito. Put me back in. 5 minutes ago, I'd rather die than play again. Now, log me in. I'll fight 10 of them. Money is the greatest painkiller ever invented. Wu Yongyan was actually mad at himself for dying wrong. Next time the zombie bites me, I should shove my hand down its throat. While it's chewing on me, the rest of you can attack. I wasted my death? This man was strategizing how to be eaten more efficiently. Not how to avoid being eaten. How to be a better bait. Wang Daming looked at his crew, the same guys who were crying 30 seconds ago, now fighting over who gets to put the helmet on first, and just smiled. Let's go. Log in. Log in. The dormitory was shaking from their screaming. These guys were more excited than payday at the construction site. Su Weijia jammed the helmet on, threw himself onto his bunk, and black screen. Red countdown timer. Revival countdown. 17 hours, 58 minutes. Instant revival. 100 source crystals. He ripped off the helmet. I can't get in. One by one, everyone tried. Same result. Dead means dead until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Can't we pay to respawn? Su Weijia did the math on his fingers. 1 crystal equals 1,500 yuan. 100 crystals to respawn. That's 150,000 yuan. The room went silent. Just rain hammering the tin roof. 150,000 to respawn once. That's more than most of them earn in a year. This game is highway robbery, someone whispered. Everyone deflated. Collapsed back onto their bunks like punctured balloons. Everyone except Wang Daming. Because Wang Daming didn't die. He was the only survivor. He was still in the game. And what was he doing with this precious advantage? Running for his life. Because the sandstorm had cleared, and he'd gone exploring, and approximately 45 seconds later, he bumped into a 20-meter-long black python with metallic scales and a mouth the size of a bathtub. Black cloud python. Combat power, 319. Wang Daming's combat power, less than 10. He wasn't fighting this thing. He wasn't even considering fighting this thing. He was just running. Legs burning. Lungs on fire. Giant snake right behind him. Close enough that its drool was sizzling on his skin. He tripped. Because of course he tripped. On a bone sticking out of the ground. Fell face first into the dirt. Knee screaming. Snake looming over him. Mouth open. Shadow blocking the sky. Dead. Definitely dead. No question. His hand grabbed the bone that tripped him. Last desperate instinct. Use it as a weapon. Mutant beast bone damaged. Grade, C. Recycling value, 11 source crystals. 11 crystals. At market price, 16,500 yuan. Wang Daming's brain made a calculation faster than any computer. He was about to die. If he died holding this bone, he'd lose it. 16,000 yuan gone. The snake's mouth was directly above him, drool burning his face. Recycle, he screamed in his mind. Recycling complete. 11 source crystals acquired. Then the snake ate him. But the crystals were safe. In his account. Untouchable. This man's final act before death wasn't screaming, wasn't praying, wasn't fighting. It was completing a financial transaction. He looked death in the face and said, "Hold on, let me deposit this first. Construction worker priorities, secure the bag, then die." From my shop, watching this whole drama unfold, I realized something beautiful. The soldiers fight with precision. The streamers fight with ego. The construction workers fight with desperation. And desperation, it turns out, is the most powerful motivator in the world. These guys would wrestle a zombie barehanded for 450 yuan. They'd strategize being eaten alive to give their teammates an opening. They'd complete bank transfers while being swallowed by a snake. My store doesn't just sell potions and weapons. It sells hope to people who had none. And hope, my friends, is the most expensive item in any shop. Wang Daming woke up from being swallowed by a giant snake and started laughing. His crew thought he'd lost his mind. "Big Fierce, you okay? Want a candy? Did the snake break your brain?" "I picked up 11 crystals right before I died." He let that sink in. At current prices, that's 16,500 yuan. The dormitory went so quiet you could hear individual raindrops. These men make 200 yuan a day, carrying cement, in the sun, breaking their backs. And Wang Daming just earned 3 months of wages by tripping over a bone and getting eaten by a snake. How? What? How? He explained. Ran into a massive python, tripped on a glowing bone, recycled it into his account 0.3 seconds before becoming snake food. Last second financial transaction. Death couldn't stop the hustle. And then something beautiful happened. These rough, broke, exhausted men did something I didn't expect. They refused to take a cut. "That money is yours, Big Fierce. We didn't do anything. We helped kill the zombie, so that split was fair. But this? You earned this alone. We're not taking a single yuan." Honor among construction workers. These guys would fight zombies for pocket change, but wouldn't take money they didn't earn. I respect that more than anything I've seen in this wasteland. "Don't worry, brothers," Wang Daming said. "Our good days are just beginning." Everyone was buzzing, planning tomorrow's strategy. Too excited to sleep, counting imaginary money, dreaming of zombie-killing fortunes. Then reality kicked the door in. Literally. Bang. The rusty iron door flew open. Rain and cold wind poured in. Standing there in a black raincoat, belly sticking out like a pregnant whale, flashlight blinding everyone. Zhang Bapi. The foreman. Zhang the skin peeler. The boss. "Get up. Cement delivery. Unload the truck. Now." Nobody moved. "Are you deaf? Get your asses up. Don't you want to get paid?" He kicked the bed frame, grabbed Su Weijia off his bunk, and threw him on the floor. "Move. If you delay the project, you're paying for it. Lazy as pigs, all of you. Don't want to work? Get out." In the rain. No raincoats provided. This cheap bastard wouldn't even buy them 10 yuan rain ponchos. Any other day, they'd swallow it. They always did. Because they needed the money. Because their families needed the money. Because what choice did they have? But today? Today they had source crystals in their accounts and a game that paid better than construction. Wang Daming stood up, all 6 foot something of him, towering over the foreman like a wall of muscle and fury. Then he kicked Zhang Bapi in the back of the leg. The foreman dropped like a sack of wet cement. Wang Daming put his foot on the man's chest, pinned him to the floor, and unleashed a verbal hurricane that would have made my system crash again. "You think we're your dogs? Huh? Talk to me like that again and see what happens. Didn't no one ever tell you your mouth smells like a sewer?" Zhang Bapi, who'd been bullying these men for months, suddenly turned very polite. "Brother, let's talk about this calmly. I was just asking nicely. And oh raincoats, and oh work. My brothers get sick in that rain and the medicine costs more than your day rate." Su Weijia, the same guy who was in a fetal position an hour ago, grabbed a hard hat and slammed it on the ground next to Zhang's head. "I quit. Find someone else to exploit, you piece of—" "I quit too. Same. Tell your mother to come unload the truck." 10 men. All standing. All done. Grabbing their stuff. Mainly the gaming helmets, which they guarded like newborn babies. Blankets? Left behind. Clothes? Who cares? The helmets came first. They walked out into the rain, past the sputtering foreman, heads held high. The courage they found fighting zombies in a fake apocalypse? They brought it back to the real world. Turns out, once you've been eaten alive by monsters and lived to tell about it, a fat guy with a flashlight isn't that scary anymore. From my shop, 55 years in the future, I had no idea any of this was happening. I just saw 10 civilian players log off after one session. But what they were really doing was something my store was never designed for. They weren't just earning crystals. They were earning their dignity back. And that's worth more than all the source crystals in the world.